I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the streets. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. Value. Value.
Back to another edition of A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. I'm your host, James Cordner. Tonight is a special, just Saturday night. Really, it's nothing really special. It is August 26th, 2023. I already know ahead of time that this episode will not make it to Spotify. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly just say, hey, I'm going to clip this part out, this beginning here, because we're going to be going over all this developing story about COVID coming back, the resurgence of the pandemic and everything. So I'm going to make a clip real quick live on the air. And I'm just going to say, if you're listening on Spotify, this episode has been censored. Come over to Rumble and or YouTube. The links will be in the show notes and you can find the alternate channels over there. I don't want to leave you guys by the wayside. And pretty soon we're not going to be posting on Spotify. So with that being said, tonight we have what I want to do is I want to attract people to call in. I want people to call into the show. I want to host kind of like an impromptu live roundtable of people calling in. So go to freeyourmindne.com/call and you can call and we can have a live roundtable discussion about what the future might hold. Now I have a lot of clips. I have a lot of things to enter into the record this evening. So I promised that I would read another chapter of John Taylor Gatto's book. That's not going to happen this evening. There's just too much to get into. So without, there's just too much to get into, really. So I need to make sure that we follow up on what we like the big story that we were trying to cover a little bit last week was the Maui fires. And I want to make sure that we kind of, stay up to date with what's going on with that. So like before we get into all the COVID stuff, I want to get into this. So from Greg Reese at band.video, and you can find the show notes right now at Rumble in the description or at freeyourmindne.com/live. And the description is there. So if you want the show notes now, that's where you can find them. All the links, everything that I want to cover. I don't know if we'll get to all of it, but that's what I want to cover. And maybe we will get to all of it. So we're going to start tonight with Greg Reese talking about the Maui wildfires and the theft of sacred Hawaiian land from band.video.
Survivors of the Maui fire say that they received no warning and that the flames appeared so quickly that escape was difficult. Everything was suddenly in flames, and many found refuge in the ocean for hours while their homes burned to the ground and into the same powdery ash footprint we've seen in recent years. So far, it is estimated that nearly 1,000 people have died. Locals are worried this includes hundreds of children who were home due to school being canceled that day. Several people are reporting that the government is not only doing little to help, but they are blocking local efforts to do so and are not allowing local donations through, and that they are blocking life-saving medicine because it isn't federally approved.
Denying people access to bring in supplies, just supplies for people to live.
The government withholding every single one of our donations because we are not a part of FEMA and Red Cross. So none of this is eligible for giving out. Tell me why. I have no freaking clue.
The people of Maui are on their own for now. And aside from the federal government's bureaucratic failure, they have good reason to be suspicious. Just like what we saw 5 years ago in Paradise, California, there was nothing normal about these fires. Within a day of burning, it was like a bomb went off.
When you see the full extent of the destruction of Lahaina, it will shock you. It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new Lahaina.
Local residents have been reporting bright flashes of light. One was captured by a home security camera that appears to have been the start of the Olinda fire. Many people are saying that it was directed energy weapons. We know that most major governments already have them. And during the California fires, online weather maps recorded what looks like a laser from above, striking an area just before it bursts into flames. In his research, Dennis Mills discovered that the incendiary aluminum and barium nanodust from chemtrails is most likely fueling the ferocity of today's so-called super wildfires. And on the day before the Maui fires broke out, locals were reporting a heavy overcast from chemtrailing that they'd never seen before. It's also interesting to note that the Maui police chief was the incident commander for the Las Vegas mass shooting in 2017. Lahaina is considered to be a historic and sacred land. It was the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii before it was taken by the United States. It's been occupied by Native Hawaiians ever since, who are defiantly opposed to the mainland outsiders who have been buying up land with no respect for local culture. Not just BlackRock and Vanguard, but billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, who owns more land on Kauai than what the government of Kauai owns, and Oprah Winfrey, who has bought over 1,000 acres of land in Hawaii, including a new 870 acres in Maui she just bought this spring. In 2018, the Paradise wildfires broke out exactly where the United Nations have plans to somehow make off-limits to humans. And that same year, a report on wildfire prevention was published that was focused on the exact same areas in Maui where the fires just broke out.
All the historic downtown, all of it is demolished and all the houses gone. But those commercial big box stores are still there.
Hawaii Governor Josh Green has been putting the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda ahead of Hawaiian interests. Just weeks before the fire, he unveiled an emergency proclamation on housing that eliminates the traditional Land Use Commission, allowing the government more leeway to build as they see fit, such as building 15-minute smart cities run by artificial intelligence, just like they've been planning to do in Hawaii for years.
At some point, I will make a major donation after all of the smoke and ashes have settled here and we figure out what the rebuilding is going to look like. This is going to be a long and difficult process. You're going to see a lot of Phoenix stories rising from the ashes here.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Okay. All right. So that that kind of shows us that there's some weird stuff. There's still some weird things going on over there on Maui. You know, there's a lot going on over there. So one thing that I wanted to bring up was that Oprah Winfrey is a part of something called that was called the Good Club, which is like a kind of like a almost like a secret society of like rich philanthropists. So maybe you want to look into that for yourself. There's another video in the show notes on Free Your Mind New England that I don't have the time to play the whole thing, but it is also from Band.video, and it's Alex Jones talking about, maybe we can play a few minutes of it. And this is videos that prove that Maui police were barricading families inside the firestorm. So maybe we can play a few minutes of it while we kind of get warmed up tonight. And yeah, it's some pretty sick stuff. You know what, guys, like I don't really usually go for Alex Jones that often, but you know what? Like there's something about this story not a lot of people are telling the truth about. And, you know, given the big story that we're going to try to cover this evening and how Alex Jones is kind of like the one that, you know, once again, he's like kind of blowing the top off the story. I don't know. I feel like I've got to kind of cave a little bit and just kind of play a little bit of the Alex Jones stuff, because it is Alex Jones who, you know, blew the whistle. Well, he didn't blow the whistle. I don't know what you would call it, but he made the initial report about the COVID lockdowns coming back. And then a couple days later, we hear about, like, anyways, but let's play a few minutes of this and we can kind of get warmed up. It's a terrible thing to say talking about a fire, but we can just get into the
Everybody
show.
was stuck. The cops
We had no idea that the road was stopped and they wouldn't let us move. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror and the sky is getting blacker and blacker in my rearview mirror. And I'm like, I got out. We were stopped. I got out. I beat on his door. He said, "You scared the crap out of me." I was like, "You see that field? You see that field? If they don't let us go, you drive this fucking van right through that goddamn field and into the ocean, because that fire is coming right now and we're not going to make it."
It's one thing to have me tell you about it. It's a whole nother ball of wax to actually be looking at what they did and the actual footage of people that got out. Because, I mean, they're backed up. The cops won't let them through. There's fire all around the cars. And then finally the cops leave and they get out because they're up at the front. The cops finally went, "Well, I guess I'm not going to follow orders to sit here and die." Which, again, the cops weren't in on it. Folks, they're told to go do this. Man, I tell you, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Because following orders in the face of death, when you know it's the fire's behind the people, the buildings are burning, you look and the roads are totally open to the highway, and you don't let people go through. Well, what?
But why?
So what if you get fired later? But you're not going to get fired. Your boss is going to go to prison. And I'll tell you, the cops that kept those people there, manslaughter, they should all spend 10 years in prison. But whoever premeditatedly ordered that needs to get hung. And that's not a vindictive thing. They murdered all those children and people. I want an investigation, I want indictments, and I want death penalty. I want those people to be executed, just like they executed those women and children. How much of this are we going to take, people? This footage coming up will make you vomit. I haven't even shown it yet. I don't even want to look at it again. I got like 6, 7 videos of the fires around the cars, and the cops are stopping people. I mean, while the emergency managers were on another island together at a hotel, yeah, pretty obvious, folks. Disgusting. And the reason the local newspapers and the Associated Press and others had to admit the truth, that the police barricaded the people under orders into the town, even though the road was wide open, and watched them burn up and die under orders, that indeed that is what killed the majority of the people. So they didn't just cut the water off. They didn't just leave the power on. They didn't just not trim the trees around the power poles. They didn't just not turn the alarm on. All of that, they confirm, and now it's on video, not just eyewitnesses, murdered the people that weren't able to go down alleys and side streets and that didn't have off-road vehicles. and some got stuck but still were able to run to the ocean. So this is default bureaucratic murder to get this was pre-planned. They wanted people dead so that they couldn't stand up for their property and so it could be more easily taken from them. Now, I'm not saying the police themselves were conscious of this. They followed orders. They've now talked to the press. And they said, we were told, they don't say about who, to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a bunch of videos now, not just of what Fish said a week and a half ago, the well-known old man that lives on this, doesn't live on the street, but he works on the street, lives on a small farm, and he weaves hats and sells them. It's not just his eyewitness reports. Now some of the people out of the 1,000 plus that didn't make it out, that did get out, have now uploaded their videos. And it is the police ordering them to stay there. Now, I've also been criticized, I noticed quite a bit on Twitter, that I'm covering up direct energy weapons and space lasers. Hey, Greg Reese has done reports on that. We've had a lot of other guests on that have talked about it. Like Stu Peters and, of course, Mr. White.
We covered it here last week.
And I think it's reasonable to look at that, and it's reasonable to discuss that.
Investigation
direct energy weapons are a real thing.
That Brian Christian from the Last American
But if you look at California,
you can go back and check that out. It's interesting. It doesn't really prove much of anything other than facilities that are in certain areas that are suspicious.
90% of the power company that delivers 98% of the power in Maui, and they admit they didn't trim the trees back. They admit they left the power on, and we have the power lines falling in the wind and catching fire, video after video. So we know they did it. We know they blockaded them in. Now you know who gave the orders so they can be indicted and arrested. You know, it goes all the way to the top to BlackRock. This is admitted. I am really stunned to my core by Maui. And I'm going to spend almost the entire third hour on it and play these devastating clips of people trapped with the police not letting them out, with the fire behind them, and we have the eyewitnesses that it was totally clear on the highway to get out. And people had such trust in the system, they sat there and burned to death. Now, obviously, the police, they've told the witnesses this, well, we're told under orders you can't leave, with fire behind them. That is what following orders will get you into. And that is horrifying. I'm going to say it again. We know how the fire started. We know who owned the system. We know who didn't trim the trees. We know who cut off the water. We know the two emergency managers of the state and the county were both meeting on another island in Hawaii while this was all going on. We know they've got a 12-mile exclusion zone. We know FEMA is having people arrested. There's videos of that, trying to videotape or take photos. Even locals, just like the feds tried to cover up what happened at Waco when they burned them out. This has happened. This was administratively done. And the fact that they would pull something like this and get away with something like this is just staggering that they're this arrogant. And if we just sit here and let them sweep this under the rug, none of us are safe. We're all next if they get away with Lahaina. And again, this is so open and shut
Jesus.
that I am staggered by it. You don't have to listen to Alex Jones.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I pay attention. I'm smart. I got some smart guests on. But if you just look around you, you don't need me to tell you it's in a policy report they want to ban your gas stoves. They're doing it. You don't need me to tell you they're shipping illegal aliens in. Look around you. You don't need me to tell you they're trying to bring back the COVID crap. Look around you. But the system ridicules those of us that tell the truth, hoping we just don't want to be ridiculed, so we'll shut up. No, I'm not shutting up. I'm really blown away, though, that the corruption is so insane and the people follow orders so much that they would do the things they did in Maui, I'm going to cover next hour after calls, and in front of everyone, and even mainstream media admits it, and of arresting these people. I mean, they just murdered a bunch of people. It's manslaughter if they're just negligent. But let me tell you something. It'd be like somebody never played golf before on a 200-yard drive from the tee, hitting the ball.
If we can skip ahead a little bit.
Lahaina many times. I know it. We've seen the reports. The AP's confirmed everything we already said. They're literally trying to flee the flames coming this way. And the road's this way.
I wanted to skip ahead a little bit. He keeps talking about having the videos, but he hasn't shown them yet. He gets a little long-winded from time to time. And they just block them in and burn their asses up, and then they only some got out. Which is fine. He's you know.
Because the cops finally left.
He's good. He's okay.
Now they found the power poles, the ones that didn't fall over, hacked in key places with precision by axis, so they would fall over. Yeah, folks wanted that land. And could it be locals in a conspiracy to do it? I don't know. Was it BlackRock who wouldn't cut the trees for 5 years and let the power on? That's why they've got an exclusion zone. That's why they're covering up. That's why they're acting so suspicious, because they've been caught, folks, in the most perfect negligence, hole-in-one negligence, pure 100%, perfectly to hurt people just magically by accident. And that, I'd give that 1% chance that's real. No, ladies and gentlemen. It was default. It was set up. It was planned. There's all this stuff burning down. Remember, made fun of Trump. Trump goes, you're supposed to rake the forest. That's what they call it in Europe. Go to Europe. It's all, there's no kindling. There's nothing on the ground. It's all taken out by the foresters in Germany and France. And then you don't have those big issues because it's not there. Why would they leave it? Anywhere you go in the country, you see power lines with trees all in it? No. You see power lines with bamboo growing up all through it? No. And BlackRock, that owns that company, 90% of it, cut the money anytime you drive down the road. In the summer particularly, you see back. Well, they better do that. Or they'll fall on the power.
Skip ahead again. Oh, here we go.
And
what's this guy saying?
Safeway to speed of this wind, it could be here in 2 minutes. And
so about what time was this at? By the way, if you guys don't know who this is Fish. He's been sitting next to Cheeseburger in Paradise, selling the most awesome stuffs, right, for years. He's like a legend, and everyone loves Fish.
All right, so now we have like a local.
He's one of the wisest people that I know, by the way. Anyway, Fish, continue.
We got some calls coming in.
I went around back to Front Street.
Let's get through this video a little bit,
but none of them were moving. And I walked all the way.
We'll open up the call lines. I see you guys.
One car had moved.
I see you guys.
What was stopping the traffic? Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end and
loves everybody, but he's one of the wisest people that I know, by the way. Anyway, Fish, continue.
So I went around back to Front Street, and all the cars were lined up, but none of them were moving. And I walked all the way from Safeway to the Chart House. Not one car had moved. And I was wondering what was stopping the traffic. Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end, and I looked up north. There were no obstructions. There was no reason to keep those cars there.
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm under orders to keep them here. And I said, the fire is right around Safeway. It's going to hit Front Street. You know, these people got to get out of here. And he said, I'm following orders.
No way.
And I keep walking down the highway, and I look behind, no cars are coming out. I walked all the way to Waikuli Beach, still no cars coming out. And I started hearing boom, boom, boom. And then I heard people screaming and stuff.
You're saying they were blockaded in by the police at the end of Front Street?
Yeah.
Like where the restaurant is?
Right, where the Chart House
Where the Chart House was, I should say. There was a blockade there, and they could not go any further.
Right,
What the hell?
I walked all the way from Safeway to there, not one car had moved. All the way to, like I said, the Civic Center, and then I started hearing all the explosions, and there was no one walking behind me or on bicycles or anything. And I just...
Dude, that is unbelievable.
I had no idea, you know, until the next day when I walked down there of what had happened. I just, oh my God.
So did you go up north to your place?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just hunkered down for the night?
Yeah.
And then you
So who ordered the power to stay on? Who ordered the water to not be transferred? We know, the Obama Foundation guy. Who didn't trim back the trees? BlackRock, that owns 90% of the company.
All right. So, if you guys want to check out the rest of that video, the link is in the show notes. Come over to freeyourmindne.com/live, and you can get or if you're watching on the Rumble channel, see a couple people over. I got my other computer to the side here, and I see a couple people watching over there on Rumble. Thanks for tuning in over there, guys. Yeah, you can get that full video in the show notes. So we got a couple calls, and that's awesome. So I'm going to bring them in now. We have returning caller, my dude Jerry, and we have Angela G calling in as well. What's going on, Jerry? How are you today?
Oh, I'm good, James. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. Just trying to get some legs under us for this evening. It's going to be a lot to cover with this, with the pandemic, COVID coming back and everything. So, I just wanted to make sure, because we kind of covered the wildfires last week a little bit. I wanted to make sure that we kind of, stay on top of that. I was trying to find some other stuff about the train wreck over in Ohio too, to see if we could get an update on that. But it's difficult to find because I only just thought of that about an hour ago. So I had like a half an hour to figure that out before the show started. So I was like, oh no, but I wanted to see if I could include that too, because it seems like a lot of people have just completely just left that by the wayside. They don't care about what went on in East Palestine anymore. Where's that stuff gone? I had some questions. I was like, oh man, I want to know like what happened to the soil? Like where'd they removed it all? Like where'd they put it all? Where'd they bring it? Where'd they drop it off? Are they spreading this toxic soil all over the place in the country? Like what's going on with that? So if anybody has anything like that, send it to me. You can send it to me, like via email. You can email me through my website and everything, freeyourmindne.com. And like, so we can report on that next week on the show, because I think people need to know about East Palestine, Ohio, and the aftermath, and like get updated, because it's been like 6 months. I think a little over 6 months since the initial, accident happened. I think maybe my timeline's a little screwed up, but it's been a while. And now it's like it's a chaotic situation after chaotic situation. I think that I don't know if I could say for sure, like, why all these things are happening. Could we chalk it up to a coincidence? Could we chalk it up to just like, the world's just gone fucking crazy? Sure. But I certainly think that what went on in East Palestine is a serious story, and I want to know what the heck is going on with all that stuff. So what do you think? What do you think, Jerry? Have you heard anything about East Palestine, Ohio? What do you know about it?
I just know that.
Oh, hey, hold the wire away from your shirt, because it's rubbing up against your shirt.
All right.
For your mic.
Maybe it'll be better if I just go unmiked, but is this better?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know much except that it was a tragedy. And yeah, I mean, that like you mentioned, the soil, it had some it spoiled the soil, and it has like long lasting effects. And I heard that there was a movie with the same accident, so it was like
White Noise. Right.
Yeah. So that's what I've heard, James.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, about just getting an update on all of that. But so yeah, I mean, we have many a clip to play this evening. Let me just close this out. I'd like to start with this this European Parliament, the International COVID Summit. It's the third one. It happened back in May of this year, so May 3rd, 2023. And I want to share this because I want to know where the hell are all the politicians in this country that are talking like this, because you don't hear any of them talking like this. So we have about 7 minutes of, and it's not this guy, it's the woman that comes in like, about 15 seconds after this guy, like after I start the video. But yeah, I mean, not to take the words out of her mouth or anything like that, but what we could be looking at, and I hope to God it doesn't happen, but it's already started happening. And if it goes any further, we have I want to say it. I want to be the one to say it. We have a moral obligation. We seriously do. And I don't even care if at this point, if you think morality is objective or relative, I don't give a shit at this point. Regardless of the way that you view morality, we have an obligation to stand up and say no. We have an obligation to not comply with, if this is really happening, if this is really going to be true, we all need to say no. It stops with us. It can only go through if we allow it to. We saw what happened last time. None of their shit worked. None of it worked. None of it. It was never meant to work. It was meant to get people to comply. It was a test. They were pushing the boundaries with each and every one of us. That's all it was. And I don't want to sum it up, but like, I'm not fucking doing it. I swear to God, you try to fucking tell me I got to wear a mask to go into a grocery store to get food for myself, my wife, my children, whatever. I'm not fucking doing it. Call the cops. They're going to have to tackle me. You're going to have a dead fucking person on your hands because I will fight the fucking police over. I don't care anymore. You try to tell me I need a fucking jab to go to work. I guess I'm not going to work. I guess I don't have a job anymore. This is the level of sacrifice and the level of non-compliance that each and every one of us has to be prepared to act upon in order to stop these people from having complete and total control over every aspect of our fucking lives. And this is what we need to mentally prepare ourselves for. And whether or not it's true, to the degree in which some people out there in alternative media would like for you to believe that it's true, I can't say for sure. All I know is that if it is even remotely looking like a repeat of 2020, we need to stop it. We can't let 2020 be, to repeat. And of course, like there's a bunch of other theories around like, oh, just why is it happening? Like election year and everything like that. No. None of that matters. It's not about elections. They don't care about elections. All they care about is control and getting you to do what they tell you to do. It doesn't matter to them about elections anymore. It doesn't matter. No, they don't care. And what's going to happen is that we have some other stories that we can play about this, but what they're looking for is yet again. But what they're doing is they're dialing up the intensity of it, just, some, maybe a lot, but they're going to dial up the intensity of it. And they're going to have this, worldwide, countrywide, however, whatever. It's like a Stanford prison experiment. And that's what they're going for. They're not going to need to mandate anything anymore. People are just going to fall back in line because, and I have a video that I want to play in its entirety. I love Truth Stream Media. I love playing Truth Stream Media. They're the best. They're some of the best. They produce some of the best content out there. And I remember that I saw a video of theirs like a few years ago where they, go into what the heck makes a cult. So I found that video. We're going to play that. And it kind of like gets the brain working a little bit to get you thinking about like what the fuck is going on here. They don't need to they don't need to enact policy anymore. The people are brainwashed.
That's a good clip.
And the people, and the same people that went, I think that I'm stammering now, but and we're going to play this video. But I think that what we need to go forward with forward thinking is we need to go forward with this idea. Regardless of whatever choice you make, as long as it's your choice to make it,
Or do you have multiple? You're on mute.
then we should be accepting of that. And making us do things that we really shouldn't, and making you get it.
Who an illness and not a mere. We actually saw that 97% of what we were served was erroneous and a lie. I am grateful to you. Many of you actually passed this trajectory from the state enemy to a hero. Thank you for not giving up, for pressing on. And now, after 2.5 years, for the very first time, we have an opportunity to bring facts to light. Thank you.
Thank you.
She's
Thank
the one
you
I wanted to feature.
for all of you being here, coming here, you traveled all around the world just to be here. And that is so very, because one thing they were trying to do in the beginning is to actually isolate all of us. That's what they were trying to do. And my favorite unscrupulous WEF puppet is probably Justin Trudeau, and he coined it. They're just a small fringe minority having unacceptable views at that. It's a no-go. Well, I will have you know of that small fringe minority. But what were they actually doing? Well, they were instilling a sense of disenfranchisement, isolating people. And I'm particularly grateful that Mr. Christoph pointed that out in his presentation, because that was part of the game. Because isolated people, it's called gaslighting, triangulation, which is actually psychological abuse. They subjected us to a state of psychological warfare. That's what we had to deal with. But you know what? Looking at all of you, they did not succeed. Because globally, the networking began. And I'm so grateful and I feel so blessed to see so many people that I have had the pleasure to meet personally in these past 2 years. Thanks again for coming, because we actually are a big family now, and they have no idea how many of us there actually are. It's billions. But we are really up against a lot. You might have followed the work we have done with my colleagues and Ivan Sinčić, Christian Turhash in the COVID committee. And despite everything we shed light on, despite all the lies, despite all the false narratives, despite all the misinformation, we uncovered and actually forced them to having to admit to, despite all of that, they are still determined to pull through with their plan. We just reviewed the draft report of the COVID committee, and in this report, I can tell you, every single lie is being repeated. The report is 56 pages long, contains 4,400 80 words. How many times do you think? Make no mistake. I will tell you what it says. The committee requires the member states, the EU Commission, and the manufacturers of these mRNA injections, well, it doesn't say that there, but requires them to more clearly communicate adverse side effects in an orchestrated, concerted kind of way in order to, and that's the point they're trying to make, in order to prevent the spread of disinformation and fake news. That is what they're after. It's not about the adverse side effects. That is just one example in this report. Like I said, every single lie is being repeated. And as I have been saying, and unfortunately it turned out to be true, this whole COVID madness, this so-called pandemic, it was just a test balloon, a gigantic test balloon. Well, for what, you ask? Well, to see how far they could go, to see what exactly they would have to do to get free individuals in a free and democratic society to consent to being forced into compliance. That's what they were trying to establish. That's what they were trying to figure out. And they have figured it out. Trust me, they are much smarter now. The goal ultimately is to transform our free and democratic societies, into totalitarian societies. Their goal is to strip each and every one of us of our fundamental rights of freedom, democracy, the rule of law. They want to get rid of all of this. And they're robbing us of our identity. Whether it be our national identity, our cultural identity, they won't even stop to rob us of our sexual identity. The very core of who we are, they don't even stop there. This whole COVID thing had never anything to do with public health. It never had anything to do with breaking waves. It always had to do with breaking people in order to make us a part of a mindless, malleable mass, which they can totally control, and we will be completely dependent upon this globalitarian elite. That's what they have in store for us. You're sitting in the EU Parliament, but you can take any kind of international governing body or organization. It is no longer by the people, for the people. From now on, it will be by the globalitarian elites, for the globalitarian elites, and nothing else. So I'm really imploring the people and all the peoples around the world, for God's sake, stop giving your democratically elected governments the benefit of the doubt. They are not deserving of that. They are not. Stop rationalizing whatever your government is doing. Stop rationalizing and come up with some good intentions. They have no good intentions. Never. As I said before, in the entire history of mankind, there has never been a political elite. And it isn't any different now. Why should it? Stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Because I can tell you, you cannot comply your way out of a tyranny. It is impossible. Trying to do so, you will only feed a gigantic alligator in the hopes of being eaten last. But guess what? Your turn will come, and then you will be the one swallowed up. I also have to ask the people, end your silence. Speak up. For God's sake, stop complying. Start rebelling. They're out to get you if you do not resist. I would also urge you to stop voting for those who inflict this psychological abuse on you, who mock you for their own good. And here and then, I think of a quote by Lenin, actually, no less. He once said, "It is true, freedom is so precious that it has to be carefully rationed." Lenin. And that's what they're doing in this place, believe it or not, exactly that. And that's what's happening all over the world right now, especially in the Western democracies. Freedom are being carefully rationed. Well, I will not go by that. That is not my motto. I prefer Albert Camus because I have decided in order to deal with this unfree world, to defy this unfree world, I have decided to become so absolutely free that my very existence is an act of rebellion. And that's what we all need to do. So I will continue to fight, and I'm sure my colleagues will continue to fight the globalitarian elite. I am determined to do whatever it takes to bring them down. They have us to reckon with now, and that's why they hate us so much. Because we bother them, we are a nuisance, we're annoying them, and we are exposing whatever they're planning for us. Sometimes it's not that much fun to constantly being accused of, just about everything and anything, but we can at least say, however this pans out in the end, at least we will not stand accused by our grandchildren to having stood by in silence. We will not have to justify to our grandchildren why we were followers. It's not us. We're not followers. We're critical thinkers, and we will expose all of that. So we will not have to answer to our grandchildren why this happened. Again, I might add, again. They haven't learned anything. But, and I'm convinced of that small, fringe minority, it is so huge. Like I said, it's billions and billions of people around the globe. So the gaslighting, the psychological abuse, none of this will actually happen. And if I've come to realize one thing in these past 3 years, it is this. I'm an elected representative of the people, by the people, for the people. I represent your best interests.
Blah, blah, blah.
But I've come to realize my most important job actually is to break the psychological abuse, expose their lies, and give the people validation. That's what they needed, and that's what they needed to actually stand up, take to the streets, and fight this. So this is my promise to you, I will always be that voice that will break their despicable psychological abuse pattern. They're criminals and they belong behind bars. That's where they need to go.
Okie dokie. So we got that. We got that in the show this evening too. You know, it's important that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a politician. Yeah, blah blah blah. I represent the people and all that, you know, hoity-toity stuff. But that's some pretty important stuff to be. Some pretty important stuff to be hearing. You know, I heard that clip on Grand Theft World last week, and then I was like, well, I want to find the whole thing. I want to find the whole thing that she said. So I did, and man, I mean, yeah, we definitely need to be taking those words to heart. I would say, Jerry.
I loved what she said, James. I am glad this video made it into your time capsule. And I think Angela Green wrote in the chat that you dropped the antithesis of this on the One Great Work Warriors in Telegram. It is brutal.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we just need to really just not let it happen again. I mean, and this was all the way back in May that they were talking about it. So Alex Jones coming out like a week ago and saying that he's got like a whistleblower from the TSA. I mean, this woman's talking about it back in May in front of the EU Parliament, you know, where this is the same EU Parliament that got the board member from Pfizer to admit that they never really did any testing on their precious vaccine to see if the vaccine stopped transmissibility. That they never even did that. I mean, so like we are being in America, our media here is suppressing information to such a degree that it's just like, it's insane. You know, like YouTube is censoring, or was censoring, you know, Senate hearings, you know, like where it's just like, this is insane. I don't know. We need this information. But yeah, I mean, it's a serious situation. But let me pull up this next one here. I love these guys. Whoa, what happened? The page can't be found. What do you mean the page can't be found? God damn it. I'm getting some wind on you on there, Jerry.
All right.
Mind muting your mic just for a minute? So we got another clip here, and I love these guys. It's James Evan Pilato and James Corbett. They do a show once a week together. They've been doing it for like 13 years. They call it New World Next Week. That's what it's called. And so they really covered this a lot. And then we can talk about this after the clip and see what's going on. Call into the show, freeyourmindne.com/call. Just come on over and hop in, and we'll see what happens. Let me share this. And so yeah, you guys got to check out these guys. So
welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I'm James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com. These are clearly acts of criminality, and we have a team of officers investigating and identifying those responsible. We've got that good news story, plus releasing Fukushima water, but first, are they prepping for Plandemic 2.0? Good stuff from offguardian.org. The buzz around the alt news sphere the last few days has been that the man is planning to bring back pandemic restrictions. And there's some evidence that this could very well be true. As it so often does, it started with Alex Jones, reporting that a whistleblower from the TSA had informed him the U.S. government was going to start bringing back COVID restrictions starting in October and going full-blown lockdown by December. There's also the fact we're suddenly being told about these spike cases, and not one, not two, but 3 new variants, Eris, Pi, and Pirola.
That guy in
Esoteric sidebar. Chris Knowles and others recently noted, never ascribe to stupidity that which can be adequately explained as ritualism. And I haven't even had the time to dive into these names, but again, obviously they know what they're doing esoterically. Meanwhile, some places are bringing back mask mandates already, such as Morris Brown.
And I wanted to pause it just so anybody doesn't know, like James Evan Pilato and James Corbett, they've been doing this since James Evan Pilato's been doing Media Monarchy since 2005. So they're like the OGs of the alternative media space. So that's why it's important for, even if you stop watching this show, go over to Media Monarchy and go see James Corbett over at the Corbett Report. And, these guys are legit. So that's why I
Brown
wanted to play
College
them.
in Atlanta, Georgia.
Let's continue.
And it's not just the U.S. either. A hospital in Dublin reinstituted COVID rules. And apparently the UK is hiring. The UK's government's health security agency looking to hire a vaccine supply operations overseer. Overseer? That sounds kind of racist. For the upcoming largest vaccination program, which is to be delivered at pace. Neil Ferguson even emerged from hiding to warn against the Parola variant. So those warning we're in for another plan. Smoke without fire, and there's definitely a lot of smoke. A lot of suspicious smoke, you might say. An orgy of evidence, always kind of sketchy. And given how watchful COVID skeptics are likely to be, for the establishment to advertise their false flag events in advance would probably be a tactical error. Other explanations then. Off Guardian says we're maybe looking at 3 potential plans and scenarios here. Number 1, it really is Plandemic 2.0. The reason they look like they're going to redo COVID is because they're going to redo COVID. They're not shy about making their agenda plain a lot of the time, and this is a rather egregious example. Number 2, it's a bluff to discredit alt media. A standard ploy. The establishment deliberately feeds the anxieties of the freaked out independent media outlets who reflexively report that the sky is falling, and then when it doesn't, makes the indie media look like the boy who cried wolf. Number 3, it's about vaccines.
I wanted to pause it right there real quick so we can talk about that part. Let me just rewind it a little bit so we can, all right. This part, it's a bluff to discredit alt media, a standard ploy. The establishment deliberately feeds the anxieties of independent media outlets who reflexively report the sky is falling, and then they don't follow through, making the indie media look like the boy who cried wolf. This point to kind of draw some focus on, because it happens all the time, and this is, in my opinion, there's a little bit of another way of looking at it from this angle. Now, if we didn't draw attention to it, okay, it would be a whole lot easier for them to get away with performing these all wish to perform. So in a way, us being very loud about it at the moment could very well draw so much attention to it that, they got to drop the plans because there's no way they can get away with it. There's no way that they can be as covert with this operation as they wished to be. So in one aspect of it, it's like, yep, they don't go through with it, makes us all look like a bunch of fucking psychos. And on the other side of it, well, it only didn't go through because of how much attention was drawn to it by this same group of fucking psychos. So there's a little bit of, push and pull with this idea here. Do you have any thoughts about that, Jerry?
Yeah, sounds like mind tactics that they're employing. So we have to be vigilant and on guard. That is all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is, regardless, it's like, this is why it's still totally so important to remind people of how easy it was back in 2020 to be tricked into doing all the things that they did. And even in 2021, and the amount of fear that we can honestly be reflecting back on. And if you're looking at it in a holistic sense, there's plenty of information out there. Yeah, in the moment, you do things that you're being very, you're just responding, and you're being very reactive, I think. And then, hindsight, as they say, is 2020. 20. And we need to remember that we now know, if you've been paying attention, and not just to the right sources, like if you've just been paying attention, they weren't necessary. They were never necessary. We didn't need to shut down the economy. We didn't need to, like, I am one of the biggest homeschool advocates that you will ever find, but you certainly didn't need to take the kids out of school. Like, a lot of the things that were done out of fear. They were done out of ignorance. Now, we don't need to repeat those things. And you know what? Furthermore, I remember being taught in 3rd grade that viruses, as they mutate, they get less they get less deadly. So, I mean, are we dealing with a virus here, or are we dealing with a bioweapon? There are things that we're just not being told. And I think that's the truth, that there's a lot being kept from us. But we still can reflect back on the experience that we all shared and how unnecessary a lot of the measures that were taken were, and just not comply with them again if they try to do the same thing, you know? Like, it didn't work before. Why would it work now? And we'll find out that this strain, let's pretend that it's even a thing, because like, where's the isolated where is it? Have they isolated it? Can they prove that it's real? I got sick with something. Personally, I got sick with something. Like, it was weird. Like, I was hallucinating. I had a fever of like 103.4. Like, I was like mumbling in tongues, like curled up on the couch. Like, it was bad. And then it was like gone. And it was the strangest thing. And yeah, we have a comment in the chat saying that they have never isolated it. So we don't have evidence that proves that the virus exists even the way that they say that it existed, or the way that it exists. We have no proof of that. So call it what you want. I'm kind of in the camp of saying that something exists, personally, because I've never in my life been sick that way. Something got to me. Like, and it's just, I'm still to this day kind of like, I wonder what the heck that was, because it certainly didn't feel natural. I'm telling you right now, it did not. Like, it was the weirdest feeling ever. And I am that kind of like, I'm a macho man, like I hardly get sick. And when I do, it's like, I feel run down for like a day, 2 days, maybe tops, not like 5 days where I have a fever for 3 of them and I feel like dog shit for all 5 of them. That never, ever happens to me, ever. And it was a Tuesday morning. I had a sore throat. And then this was like 4 a.m. I had a sore throat. Then by 7 a.m. I had like these hot flashes, like this fever coming on, more cowbell. And then from there, I was just like, I got to get out of here. And I finished my day at work and I got home, and like, then it was all downhill from there. It came on so fast. I went to bed Monday night and I felt like nothing. I felt like it was just a normal day. And then boom, woke up Tuesday morning. And even when I woke up Tuesday morning, everything felt fine. I got up, I got to work, and and I got in my truck at work. And then about a half an hour later, I'm like, ugh, I feel like junk. And like, I thought it was like, oh, whatever, and then it just went so downhill so quickly. I've never gotten sick like that before, ever. So whatever it was, there's something. There's something, but let's continue with the video.
Report that the sky is falling, and then when it doesn't, makes the indie media look like the boy who cried wolf. Number 3, it's about vaccines. As covered in the recent Eris piece on Off Guardian, the latest COVID vaccines are set to be released next month, James, as we often joke. You don't introduce a new product in August. And this all amid the uptake rates, basically, that have plummeted since 2021. By discovering new variants and dangling restrictions over our collective heads like a sword of Damocles, they might just be marketing the new vax. Or, as the update to the meme we often quote here, why not all 3? It's really happening. Mask mandates, contact tracing being re-implemented at colleges and offices, and the movie studio Lionsgate reinstates a mask mandate in parts of their Santa Monica office following COVID outbreak. I asked my mom today, are you seeing hype about the new variants and more mask mandates and lockdowns? And she said, yep, I did. 2 family members came home with it from their cruise, and family, friends, family all have it. Guess it ain't going away, but we're done with the shots. That is the best news I've heard from my parents in a while, James. But as it seems, as I think I was throwing shade at last week, the conspiratainment games are really getting to be a lot anymore. Maui, wildfires, lockdowns. Alt media, of course, doesn't care about Ohio anymore, but why aren't we talking about Putin whacking Wagner today, James?
Yeah, good question. And in fact, what East Palestine? Is that in the Middle East or something? Who cares? Whatever. Maui, Lahaina, I don't know what that was all about. Now, let's all speculate about what's coming next month. Yeah, it does seem like conspiratainment games sometimes, doesn't it? With people with the attention span of a gnat directed by a 24/7 social media newsfeed that they cannot think beyond. But since we're here responding to this speculative piece, let's speculate a little bit, because I actually kind of hope that they're just going to try a Plandemic 2.0, a Scamdemic 2.0 in the next month or two, and try to do all of the same stuff again. Because I don't know about you, James, but my sense is I don't think it's going to work quite the same way. In fact, that would probably be the stupidest thing that they could do right now, especially given how much their narrative has fallen apart, especially on the vaccine front over the past couple of years, obviously. And one of the latest signs of that, I saw a Daily Fail article about the anti-vax crisis in America. 1/3 of people in the States think that the COVID vaccines actually harmed people, or something along those lines was the headline they were running with. Like, yay, okay, so people are starting to actually get the point. And yeah, if they try that this time, 2020 took a lot of people by surprise. It shouldn't have, but it did. But if they tried in 2023, I don't think it's going to work the same way. But yeah, regarding Prigozhin and the Wagner assassination that apparently just took place as we are recording this, again, 24 hours before people see this episode, so this might be yesterday's news and people will already have forgotten about it, but I am interested to see how the Xenoners cope with this one, because Prigozhin was a great Russian patriot until the point at which he was a horrible traitor, until the point at which, no, he was secretly working with 5D chess master Putin to flush out the bad guys in the Kremlin, and now he's dead, and who knows how they're going to write this one off. Anyway, that'll be some conspiratainment to munch popcorn to, won't it? Until we get swept away by the next 24/7 news cycle feed. But let me ask James your opinion. Do you think this would be a good strategic move on the part of the Scamdemic planners to just try it all again?
I just wrote, as you were talking right there, maybe they want open defiance. I've had more than one person say, "Oh, you think I didn't comply last time? Watch how much I openly do." I think it would get pretty ugly pretty immediately for people who, like us, like ourselves, who maybe didn't go along with it, didn't get the jabs, didn't do the stuff, but I wasn't necessarily tipping over the tables with the money changers, but people will be this time. And again, and maybe that's what they want. Look at these crazy fill in the blanks of what the boogeymen are. Maybe they want open defiance. Again, maybe these are all press release trial balloons. So like, let's take the pulse on this. Let's see what alt media might freak out about. Let's see what the mainstream normies might freak out about, and maybe we can create some sort of perfect storm. It is in a lot of ways. It's like meteorology in a lot of ways. Strangely enough, we continue that thought about the weather and heavy water. Our second story on this New World Next Week, episode 527, Japan to start releasing Fukushima water into the ocean pretty much like right now, James. I believe it's going to happen the 24th to you. Japan said on Tuesday it will start releasing more than 1.3 million tons of treated radioactive water from the wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant on Thursday, putting into motion a plan that has drawn strong criticism from China. The plan approved 2 years ago, and James, we have probably mentioned that on these New World Next Week episodes. The plan approved 2 years ago by the Japanese government as crucial to decommissioning the plant.
I would like to stop and just kind of like talk about what he said about the kind of poking and prodding testing of people's boundaries and seeing what kind of thing the people like. That was what I think 2020 was all about. I'm kind of like seeing this as that, and then as we go forward in time, that we're probably going to see the intensity increase. I don't think that it was ever about a virus, really. I think that it's more, obviously it's always been about total control, but I think that like they're really like doing a psychological number on the masses. I think that it's just absolutely evident that what's going to end up happening is they're going to be pushing climate lockdowns. They're going to be doing all of this kind of technocracy stuff that we've covered on the show like before. And it just doesn't seem like it's going away. Of course, not until we make it go away. What do you think?
I could not agree more, James.
But I mean, we can go forward a little bit here. I know that they covered a little bit more about it, but we can move on to the next thing, and people can go and check out the rest of that episode of New World Next Week. And I suggest that you do. I would like to kind of lighten the mood a little bit, and we can play this video. I mean, it's gonna be audio, but we can play it, and it's the Jimmy Dore show, and these guys are so funny. I just think that they're so funny, and Jimmy Dore, like the guest host is Craig Pasta Jardula along, and Jimmy Dore is there, and Kurt Metzger is there, and they're talking about everything that we're talking about tonight, the Maui and Maui and the COVID stuff, whatever. So I want to make sure that we kind of get this in there as well. Just moving right along tonight, folks. I mean, trying to get the source material in, and then we'll go from there. Play this. Hopefully it loads, and hopefully it plays. Oh no! Fuck. What the fuck? There we go.
Hey, come see us live on tour. We're doing a show.
I know.
Okay. Well, all right. What'd you say your name was again, Jimmy?
I said my name is Craig Jardula. Lewis, Tampa, Florida, Boca Raton, Florida, and Orlando, Florida. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.
This is Craig sitting in for Jimmy. Who is this?
Hey, Jimmy Dore, this is President Joe Biden.
Hey, hello, Mr. President. But again, my name is Craig Jardula, and I'm sitting in for Jimmy this week.
Okay. Well, all right. What'd you say your name was again, Jimmy?
I said my name is Craig Jardula.
All right. Who is this guy? Am I allowed to talk to him?
Mr. President, I assure you it's fine. Jimmy Dore and Steph are on vacation this week, so I'm here.
Okay. All right, man. I dig it. So what should I call you?
You can call me Pasta, actually.
Pasta?
Yeah.
Well, hell, why didn't you say so? I know you. How are you, man?
You know me from my work?
No, I don't know what you do. We grew up together on the main streets of Wilmington, D.E. You remember?
We most absurdly did not, Mr. President. I'm sorry.
Sure we did. Pasta. It's me, Joey B. from the neighborhood. You know me. Up for a nickel, down to a trickle, 10 cents for a pickle, now for a West Side popcorn, boy. Oh, man, you bring back some real memories. Pasta, hell, I can even smell the old corner soda shop as we speak. Oh, wait, there's an open Dr. Pepper can on my desk.
Mr. President, we did not grow up together.
But sure we did. You're Pasta.
I swear I'm a different Pasta. You must be thinking about someone else. Happily, I can say I'm significantly younger than you, Mr. President.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I guess you're right. I can't remember old Pasta's real name, but it sure as shit wasn't Craig, yeah. Actually, I'm glad to hear this. I hated old Pasta. I was just pretending to be nice and happy to see him.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Yeah, old Pasta was a mean, tough dago. I'm talking a real street guinea here.
Oh my! Wait, whoa! Hey, Mr. President, I don't think you're supposed to be using phrases like that anymore.
Well, you weren't supposed to back then either. I called him out once and he walloped me a good one. He said, "Take that, you potato munching Mick." And then my 19 uncles who were cops all arrested him.
I see, Mr. President.
Which brings me to my point, new Pasta. I've always been making gaffes my entire life. People have pointed to my recent gaffes I have made and used them as evidence of mental decline. But no. I've been saying inarticulate, inartful, cringeworthy, and downright stupid and offensive things since I've been able to speak. If anything, me continuing to do so indicates a sustained youthful vigor. Like all this shit I said in Hawaii, for example. My team is going bananas cleaning. All that dumb shit I said. Heard what they'd just gone through, to me almost losing a Corvette in a fire. Almost, but not. I can't even believe it myself, and I fucking said it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, Mr. President.
And before that, walking around, people looking to the commander-in-chief to inspire confidence, to comfort, hope for healing. And what do I say? That's some hot ground, man.
My God.
Like I'm fucking stoned or something. That's some hot ground, man. That's what the president said.
Yeah.
Of the United States.
Yeah, Mr. President, that was not very inspiring at all.
New Pasta, I can hardly believe it myself. The shit that comes out of my own mouth. But that's my point. In my defense, I've always been stupid. I've always embarrassed everyone around me with the things I say. Whether I'm defending segregation or commenting on the heat of the surface of the earth. It's always the same Joe Biden. It does not mean that I'm losing my mind with age.
Yeah, okay, we'll just have to take your word on that one, Mr. President.
He was always Uncle Joe.
You remember Corn Pop?
Yeah.
How he tried to mess with you that one time?
Excuse me?
Corn Pop.
Oh, I thought we had cleared that up, Mr. President. I'm not the Pasta from your youth, Mr. President. I'm Craig, and I'm filling in for Jimmy Dore. You understand?
Oh, right. But do you remember him? Corn Pop.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I do. I remember Corn Pop, Mr. President.
Remember how he always gave you the business because you like phosphates so much?
Of course.
That was funny. So anyway, yeah, I'm not senile. I've always made gaffes. Every day. It shows you I'm a spring chicken. Old Pasta, tell new Pasta I have to go to bed now. It's 6 a.m. where I am, and I have to go to bed. Good night now.
Good night, Mr. President.
Oh, boy.
Implied that Hawaii was hit with a energy weapon of sorts, or it was
like here, I think.
See it vividly here. And when it happens, in the mainstream U.S., no question is asked. Nobody cares. No one says a word. No coverage, because that's normal. You're just supposed to turn your head the other way if the U.S. brings down government's investigator event. This is the normal
community in London, with which I'm very familiar.
This is very true, too.
Now, the interesting thing about Imran Khan's support is
sign these powers into law, and he says, as God is my witness, I never signed these into law. In a post on social media platform X, formerly Twitter, around 2 p.m., Alvey said, as God is Lincoln.
All right, well, the world order getting even more ordered by the day, and now we've got DNA bombs coming out.
And to me, I can't help but think about Bernie Sanders in this moment, because being criminalized and thrown in jail. But if he did, they would that's what they're doing now. And so I try to remind, and they expected the center-right guy to win, but
has told them that the TSA employees were instructed on Tuesday that masks are coming back by October for travelers, and full COVID restrictions, lockdowns by December, due to a new dangerous variant out of Canada.
Dude, I remember falling asleep on a plane in my mask, and it would just slide down my giant nose as I was sleeping, so I'd have my nose out, and I'd be yelled awake, sir!
No kidding.
Can you please put it back up?
I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh my God.
Along with put your seat up that's already up.
Yeah.
But they went through so hell, they got to even be pushing back against it. Like, you're not going to make us treat adults like children again anyways, like even more than we did before.
I think they're going to.
Well, here's the thing about masks, is if you really believe that masks are going to keep you from getting COVID, because they've been proven they're not, you can wear an N95 mask, and that is going to protect you. You don't need anyone else to wear a mask, but you could. So the reason why masking at population level doesn't work isn't because an N95 mask wouldn't work if you used it perfectly for a limited amount of time. But it doesn't. You don't use it perfectly. You use it every day of your life, and then eventually you're going to get COVID, because everybody's going to get COVID.
Yeah.
And so this idea that I can mask myself for the rest of, and then he backtracked and lied and said you have to wear masks, even though there was never any science behind it. Why? Because he uses fear to scare people into complying, all that stuff. But so Alex Jones is predicting,
he came out of the gate first.
He's got a source that says they're going to mandate masks again. And now and then immediately all those news stories came out. So he said this, and then we're like, oh, well, how does he know? He's making it up. That's what people think. And then 2 days later, all these stories are about, hey, the COVID is coming back, and it's back. So again, people like to Alex Jones is way more accurate than MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News. That's for sure. And those people just they told us that COVID. They told us all the COVID lies, and they told us all the Russiagate lies, and they're currently telling us all the Ukraine lies.
He's a better record than all of them.
He has a much better record. Alex Jones has a much better record than all of them. And so I bet you, I wouldn't put it past him if he does have inside information, and he does know something about this.
So I remember my friend on the phone said, well, he saw the thing wasn't true and it hurt people. And I go, oh, really? Did we go to war and kill a million people in another country? Lie? Or somebody's feelings were hurt and then they won a case? Unbelievable.
And listen, I think your theory on the mask are the same what it is on the vaccine. If you think it's going to protect you, you take it, but you don't have to force anybody else to do it. You want to wear it, you wear it. But you know what's never ever talked about? The risk versus reward. reward when it comes to masks. Maybe it's beneficial. It might help you where your spit won't go out. You might not give it to them. But there's a lot of illnesses that come from a mask.
No
if you're
kidding.
breathing in your schmutz
That's
all
right.
day, you're going to get sick. That's why
Bacterial
pneumonias went through the roof.
That's right. Bacterial infections. There's lots of
Terrible.
unintended.
And the communication skills for the kids.
There's so
really
many
screwed them up, and nobody talks about
There's
that.
so many bad side effects to masking, and people. And Fauci was right. He said there's unintended consequences. You keep
Yes.
touching your face, so you're getting shit on your face all the time, and then you're breathing in. You get back. It's not good.
Leanna Wen, when she was telling people we need to, and we need to encourage people to get the vaccine freedoms, and then she talked about I should have never masked my kid up because something happened with my kid. He had a tick or something. So I mean, we never talk about risk versus reward of that.
Remember when people used to blame emojis in hip hop for making kids talk like morons?
Yes.
It turns out masks.
There's masks.
None of it compared to the damage of masking the children.
None of it.
Nobody's got a voice like Alex Jones, so take a listen to him what he has to say about this whole situation. Listen, when he gets it right, he gets it right.
Let's hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got a call yesterday. An individual was in town, and they wanted to meet with me that I know well, and they are a high-level manager in the TSA.
He's really losing his hair.
And I went and met with them, and had a cup of coffee with them. And they said, you got to warn people.
Put some chicory in
Tuesday,
it.
we got called in, the managers,
I like cinnamon on my coffee.
and told that by the middle of September, that the new policy is being written, that this is done. They were told this is happening. This is not hypothetical. You will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
Come on.
Then, by the middle of October, they are going to say that everyone flying has to wear masks.
No, come on.
And in the meetings, people began to ask them, well, I mean, why is this happening? They said, well, because of the new variant in Canada.
No.
And because of the WHO, they may, declare this. But regardless, we've been told this is going to happen.
So, and then he makes that. Oh, is there more to this?
There's more.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
And then
He did that.
they were told, we expect by December a return to the full COVID protocol.
No.
Of 2020, 2021.
No.
And I was given
an answer.
Paul II answered.
Oh.
Told them what I've been told. And they said, what day was that? I said, Tuesday. They said, yep, we were told yesterday. Yesterday was Thursday, so it's Wednesday. Expect COVID protocols to have been rolling out middle of September.
No.
And I said, what else were you told? Basically that they believe this new variant's super bad and that they're doing the testing and that they should just get ready for a whole new rollout of what happened before. And this was Border Patrol connected people I was talking to, and testing at the border again and the whole shooting match. That's 2 federal agents that told me this yesterday.
Oh, here's the.
And then I went and looked at the news, and there they were saying Canada's looking at new restrictions again because of the variant, and so is the EU. And what did the Russians just put out 3 days ago? U.S. is plotting another pandemic. Russian head of the defense ministry warns.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Now, new lockdowns will starve the third world. New lockdowns will destroy small businesses. New lockdowns will take the average person that's already $5,000 in the hole and their paycheck is just on time. We'll put them into full bankruptcy. And the children in the mask and the attempt to push a new shot for the new variant, and we're right back in the same hellhole we were in just a few years ago. And why is it perfect timing? Because you go into the election year.
There you
And
go.
the last crisis go over 2.5 years. They'll bare minimum run this through the next election. That's only 14, 15 months out with mail-in ballots again.
Mass
We have all the eyewitnesses and testimony that they'd get the mail-in ballots, and in some
so
cases they were
he's
99% for Joe Biden.
Okay.
Who believes that? U.S. Postal
So
Service
he's tying
whistleblowers,
it.
USPS,
So
poll watching witnesses. I have it all here.
So
We'll play
you're
it next
saying,
hour.
he's tying it into the election.
Yeah.
He's saying this is because of the
They want to roll all this
they
stuff
wanna
out.
do
So they do what they did in the last mass mail-out ballots, where they
that. Do you think this connection, like they're gonna
he says, but if they do it for the
All right, well, that's that. We're not going to play any more of that. So, God damn it. Fucking stream is dropping out. But, oh, look, Angela's here. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Angela.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm in my dark room tonight. But
That's fine.
yeah, it's been a great stream. I think that the woman that you shared earlier that was talking about how there are billions and billions of people who are not going to put up with this nonsense anymore. What I dropped in the Telegram group, she also says that there are billions and billions of them who are not going to let this happen and that they're all going to control us. I think it's kind of interesting how within the last 2 weeks, with all the media that I listen to, and I listen to Jimmy Dore, I listen to Alex Jones, that it's funny how they go from one extreme to the other, right? But on the flip side, you got to be careful about what you listen to, because you're going to be biased toward one or the other. And what I understand about all of this is that if we just stand in our own sovereignty and our own freedom of person, our own freedom through natural law, we're not going to go toward one or the other. Of course, one is more freeing and one is more totalitarian. But if we teach people that they don't have to subscribe to the right or the left, or the dark or the light, or the new age or the old school, religious tyranny, right? That if we all just stand in our own power, we'll all unite. And I think that that's what's important. I think that's the message we need to get across right now, because if people are going to fall back into this mask wearing because it's obvious, the people who want to take control with everything we've seen regarding the fires this year, the heat dome, that happens. Don't get me wrong. It happens every 100 years, and that might be natural, but I think they're adding to it. People are going through right now all over the earth. It's not just in America. I think that, we need to just say, we're not doing it anymore. And, what I found is that when I just stop giving a shit about it and stop entertaining what I'm told, things calm down around me. People are like, I don't care what they have to say, because if I'm going to entertain it in my consciousness, then I'm just perpetuating the fear, the negativity, the left-right paradigm, because it's kind of weird. Even YouTube's algorithm is giving me a lot of left-wing stuff right now. So I'm watching it because I want to see what they think. And they're attacking a lot of people, but it's not because they believe in it's because they're misinformed. But you got to understand that even on the right side and the left side, people won't listen. And so when you get rid of it all, you actually open yourself up to unite. And I just wanted to make it very clear that the COVID-2 lockdown Boogaloo doesn't have to happen unless you prescribe to it. I think that talking about it, worrying about it is different. And I love how Jimmy Dore makes fun of the president, because it's funny, but on the flip side, that man was just, he was the Corvette playboy you knew back in the 80s, if you're that old, or the 90s, the ones you saw in the movies that had the big truck with the oversized wheels, that's that guy, overbearing. I got to walk around with my tighties, and show off my my bulge. And no offense to men here, but what's funny about that is that even in the 80s we made fun of that. You saw it in Revenge of the Nerds. You saw that everywhere, and nobody was upset about it. They laughed at it. They laughed at the nerds. They laughed at the jocks. They laughed at all the weirdos. And we have lost the ability to do that because evidently feelings paramount logic and reality. And I'm sorry, feelings don't trump reality. Feelings are a response to your reality, and it shows you where to go. And if you're in such a deep space that you don't have the tools, or you're not surrounded by people to, change your reality to where it envelops you for growth, then you're going to be enveloped for decay. And I feel for people who don't have that support system, so we need to be there for each other. And that's where we can unite and drop all the paradigms that the so-called media gives it. You got to remember, Edward Bernays was the father of media in the U.S., and of course the rest of the country followed. So,
propaganda.
Right.
Propaganda.
I'm going to yield there, and I thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, no problem. We need to be able to draw attention to these things. Feeding into it is one thing, right? But being ignorant of it is equally as dangerous, and that's why we do episodes like this. That's why it's important to do so, because if you're not looking at the problem, then you're kind of just got your head in the sand, and that problem's going to run. It's going to run over you. It's going to smush you right down like a the name of the equipment escapes me, like a steamroller. It's gonna squish you. So that's why it's important, to be aware of these things. Otherwise, what can you really do when the problem comes a knocking at your door? But yeah, we don't want to get caught up in any sort of left-right paradigm. I don't subscribe to any sort of political ideology other than anarchism, under natural law. Really, if that's even a political ideology, I don't understand it as such. I understand it as the the pushback against all political ideologies. So as far as left right goes, we don't play team sports here. and so like the thing is that the bigger voices in media that are able to get coverage of these stories, they do play team sports, and that's a very unfortunate thing. So but yeah, I like a lot of the things that you said there, Angela, so thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your podcast, and I've been following you for a long time, although I don't always comment and stuff. I try to stay quite busy, but no, I feel privileged to be here, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your audience.
Oh no, you're cool. You're cool. Don't worry about it. The pleasure's all mine. Yeah, it's I wouldn't, I would still be doing this even if no one was watching, but it definitely encourages to see some friendly faces and some and to have some people like yourself and Jerry here. You guys show up all the time, and it's like, oh wow, I got some wind in my sails thanks to you guys. So I appreciate it. And so I have another kind of story that I'd like to kind of get into if you guys are down. This past week, I think it was this past week, we'll find out in a minute. And this fella who I already kind of pointed out during the New World Next Week segment that I showed, his name is Scott Gottlieb. And Scott Gottlieb is, well, let's pull up this YouTube video. Hold on here, and we'll play it for the audience and for everybody, and we'll just do it up. see if anybody can catch what I'm talking about here before I point it out. So 10 points to Gryffindor for whoever points out the obvious that's staring us right in the... I'll give you a hint. It happens in no, I'm not going to give you a hint. But here we go.
For a look at some health concerns on the horizon as we approach the end of summer, including a rise in COVID cases and questions about updates to...
Oh, wait. I want to timestamp this. This was 5 days ago. So that's when it was posted. 5 days ago, right down here. It's already got 35,000 views. This is CBS News. Face the Nation. 5 days ago. So let's...
vaccines. We're joined now by former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb. He also sits on the board of Pfizer, and it's great to have you here in person, Doctor.
Thanks a lot.
I want to start on some news we got Thursday. The CDC announced a highly mutated strain of COVID has just shown up in Michigan, BA.2.86. How concerned does the public need to be?
Well, right now, I've talked to a number of virologists who are usually pretty staid, and they're pretty concerned about this. Right now, it doesn't appear to be spreading widely. There's 7 strains that have been identified and sequenced in 5 different countries, so the UK, Denmark, Israel, and now in the US. We don't know whether or not this has been spreading quietly and we just didn't detect it, or it's something that's spreading very quickly. The concern is that when you look at these different strains that have been identified, they're genetically very similar. So that suggests that it's probably spreading simultaneously in multiple countries. Whether or not this is going to be more transmissible than what we've seen before, that's the key question. Certainly at this point, it doesn't appear more pathogenic, so it doesn't appear to be more dangerous, but it may be more transmissible than the strains that are circulating now, and in that case, it could overtake them. It's too early to know. The testing's underway. I think we're going to know a lot more in a week or two, but to, again, put this in perspective, this new variant is as genetically different from Omicron as Omicron was from the original strain that emerged in Wuhan. So this is a highly mutated variant.
And that set off some alarm bells at that time. So we will watch this. But for people at home who say, oh my gosh, I've heard someone has COVID, the strain that's causing most infections is not this one.
Right. So right now, the 2 strains that are circulating causing most of the infections is what's called EG5. People have probably heard about that. It's called the Eris strain. And this other strain, FL151. They both have a very similar mutation in them called the 456 mutation that allows them to pierce the immunity that we've acquired from prior infections and also from prior vaccinations. So people are getting infected with that.
So you can pause it there. If people want to watch the rest of this, I guess they could go and find the link in the show notes so we can stop sharing it. But like Angela was saying, like we just kind of have to live our lives and kind of push through it and not let these, like I'm sitting here going, I didn't even know this was still a thing. Like these different strains that he's talking about, I didn't even know. It doesn't affect me. Is it bad for me not to pay attention? I don't know. But I do know one thing is that like it's not affecting people like me. I would never know. They could just they could just as easily not say anything. You know, so this to me seems like the volume knob being turned up on the fear and being like, oh, we got to start talking about it again. We got to start talking about it again because there's people like James Cordner out there who have no idea that this like 6th or 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 100th fucking strain exists, and if he doesn't know it exists, he doesn't know to be afraid. So we got to make sure that he knows that it's okay to be afraid, and that it's like, oh, we're getting toward the holidays. Next year's a selection year. Oh my God, everyone's gonna be freaking the fuck out. And it's like, first of all, bitch, I don't have a family anymore. They fucking abandoned me because I didn't get the vaccine. So that fucking that ship has sailed. And so fuck them. And I hope they get what they fucking deserve. And it's never going to be my attention other than when I get the bitch about them.
Well,
but anyway,
James, may I?
Yeah, Angela, cut in.
Okay,
by all means, thank you.
I used to work for my city through the pandemic, right? And I refused to get vaccinated, and neither did my spouse. And we basically had everything lined up. We had, I have mild asthma. I don't have full on asthma, but I use an inhaler when I need it. Okay, because particulates get to me sometimes, and as you can hear in my voice. Well, my wife had a lung embolism back in the day from an old bruise, and it caused her to have 2 lung embolisms. And luckily, we found blood clotting medicine that was natural and not that crap that they give people on for the rest of their life. Anyway, her embolisms were dissolved, right? And my asthma, I've done my best with it. I mean, it's still there. I can't get rid of it. But what's interesting was that even with our medical, doctor stuff, they didn't accept it regarding the mask. I got written at 3 times working for my city for not wearing a mask. I got warned on multiple occasions for not wearing a mask. I was pariahed for not wearing a mask. And then when 2022 started, I had accidentally taken a sick day when I meant to take a vacation day on my electronic time card stuff called Chronos. And Chronos ate his children in the Greek myth,
Yeah.
But it's our timekeeping thing. So I petitioned.
Chronos is also Saturn. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Because I had the time, petitioned to move that sick day to a vacation day. They refused, and they terminated me on Halloween. On Halloween Day, on the 31st, because it didn't land on a weekend.
The one day that you would be willing to wear a mask.
Duh. And it was kind of interesting. So I went to a hearing. I had to have a hearing because I appealed it, and they kept me on, and they paid me for my time. But I appealed it, and it was funny when I found out that I was terminated. The director, the assistant director, and my boss were all sitting there in front of me, and the director says, and he looked at me, and he put on those puppy dog eyes, or this kitten eyes, with the big iris, and the little iris with the big black, and said, "I'm so sorry that this happened to you." And I looked him dead in the eye. I'm like, please don't lie. It doesn't become you. And then I looked at his assistant and was like, "It was nice to meet you." And then I looked at my boss, who did everything she could to help me, and I said, "It was nice to know you. Too bad it's not going to go any further." And I walked out the door. And I'll be honest with you, I worked for them for 7 years. I had a pension. I had a 401k. I had great benefits. And it was the happiest day that I had had in probably 5 years. So I want to let you know that just because some strife may come to you in this new lockdown that they're trying to create, supposedly I have, it came across my feed. I haven't listened to it, but some of you may know about the Fearless Floyd show. Been on YouTube since its inception. This guy is all about the law, and he's all about trust law and things like that. But he had a post that says that Texas, the governor, came out and said, come September 1st, there will be no mandates, no mask mandates, and no lockdowns in Texas. So you might want to follow up on that to give you some hope. And, since Texas is one of our largest states next to California, I think that it might be something that, we might get behind and share. All I know is that I'm not complying this time, and I'm not worried about what's going to happen to me. So, I stand in my power. I stand in your power. If we all come together, we can unite. And I thank you for letting me share.
The important thing to really kind of remind ourselves is that the non-compliance is because they are using coercive measures in order to enact their authority over us. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Perceived authority over us. Quote, authority over us. They don't really have any authority over us. So they're trying to scare people into stepping in some sort of line. By the way, I just want to say, just about what my little rant earlier, I still have family members who get my back. Half my family abandoned me, and but the other half is still pretty cool. So shout out to those who share the last name I have with me. Shout out to all you people. You've always been real, and you understand personal choice, and I really love you guys. But to the rest of you people that don't have the same last name as me, y'all can go fuck yourselves. And I never want to see you again, and I never want you around my children again. So, and we're all happy. So, anyways, I'm very bitter toward that. I apologize, guys. But, so that is, so to not comply, man, this is why I say we have a moral obligation. However you view morality at this point is, to me, a non-issue. Yes, morality is objective. Yes, it does apply to all of us equally the same. Yes, we all have the same rights. Yes, this is all true. I am not wavering on that. However, I am just saying that if you think morality is relative or objective, you still have, that part doesn't matter. You still have a moral obligation to stand up and say no to when they try to do this to us again, because they don't have any right to do this. However, like, even if this sickness is real, we just heard that guy. Oh, by the way, did anyone in the chat, put it in the chat now. You got 10 seconds, counting down 10 seconds from now to put it in the chat. Did anyone catch what I was kind of hinting at before I played that last video of Scott Gottlieb on CBS talking about the strain? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He worked for the FDA. He was the commissioner of the FDA until 2019. He then became a board member at Pfizer. If you work for the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and then you get to go and be on the board of Pfizer, what do you think? What do you think, guys? Like, does that make sense? While he's on the FDA, he's doing that. Maybe he's doing backhanded things for, backdoor deals with Pfizer. And that's what proves his loyalty to a private organization such as Pfizer. So he can go and work for them and be on the board of Pfizer later on in his career. You think? So, anyways, that's something that's interesting. They're throwing it right. They're throwing it right in your faces. This is like the truth, wide out, like in the wide open, and they're laughing at all of us, saying, "Look, we just told them on national television that nobody watches, by the way, but it's still national television, cable television, and no one seems to care. No one seems to go, wait a minute, that's weird." So, anyways, that does it for the game show. Yeah. The game show portion of tonight's show. But we've pointed that out on A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth before. I think a few weeks back we were talking about the three-letter organizations such as CIA, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and so on and so forth, these intelligence agencies and the people that worked for them. And then when they're done working for the intelligence agencies, where do they go to work? They go to work for places like Twitter. They go to work for places like Facebook and other social media places. And they go to work for Google. They go to, and other places like that. So we got to be on our toes. You know what I mean? Like these people are just kind of, they're kind of stitched in to one another, these organizations. And I wanted to kind of like talk about, I guess it wouldn't be so much as it's not that I'm trying to bitch about, any sort of capitalism, because what they're doing isn't capitalism. What they're doing is plunder, which is different than capitalism. Capitalism is basically like a free market. You got a product that, like, you go down to your downtown area in your city or whatever. Like, this is just basic capitalism, right? Not this crony capitalism that goes on with the U.S. government. When a guy like Joe Biden goes, I'm a capitalist, like, he's not talking about the same kind of capitalism I'm talking about. Capitalism can be pretty good, where people have a product other people want, they exchange voluntarily, some medium of exchange, where everyone benefits. And you get what you need, they get what they need, whatever. I don't know what that exchange thing looks like. I hope it's not Federal Reserve notes. I hope it's not like that forever. I hope we can get away from that system. But I mean, it's still kind of like an agoristic kind of sort of capitalism in a way, or a free market, sort of thing. But what we are dealing with now when it comes to, you know, what most people think of when you say the word capitalism is not truly capitalism. It's crony capitalism, it's plunder, and that's what pirates do. So I don't know what do you guys think about that part? I mean, first of all, I just want to close the loop before I throw that to you guys. I just wanted to close the loop on the whole not complying thing. It's like, this is, you know, this is the time, you know, if all of this stuff is really coming down, like now, like it's the time to start. First of all, my advice is always, number one, speak out. It is the most peaceful way to do it. You know, if you're just using your words saying no, say no. Say no, you are wrong. I'm not doing what you tell me to do because you don't have the right to tell me to do it. Then the ball's thrown into their court and they have the choice. You already made yours. You're standing in your power. You have autonomy. You own your body. No one's allowed to tell you what you can and cannot do with it. So long as you're not using your body to harm others, no one can interfere with your actions, right? So if you're standing in your power and you're saying, I'm not going to allow anyone else to potentially harm me, and coercive use of force, coercion is a form of harm. Saying you have to do what I'm telling you to do simply because I'm telling you to do it, that is a form of harm. They don't have the right to do that. And so if you're saying no to that coercion, then you're in the right. And then the ball's thrown back in their court. And if they want to step, that's backwards, by the way, natural law. Yeah. Is that a light bright? I haven't seen one of those since like 97. And so what I was saying is that it's very important that you make your choices, you stand firm in them, and then when you toss the ball back into their court, what happens is that now they can choose the next steps. And if they start getting physical, then it's on. You know, that's why I said at the beginning of the show, like I'm just gonna pretend like if my approach to it is, I'm not going to draw attention to myself other than I will be making sure that I lead by example. What I'm going to do is basically just, I don't know, act like it's not happening if it does come down to it. And then if somebody gets in my face about it, then you know what? I told a story a long time ago about one of the only real like negative encounters I had with anybody during the height of all of it, when I was in a grocery store and I wasn't wearing a mask and I was waiting to get, you know, some like I don't know, something. And I was being respectful. I was like, oh, that guy's in the way. I got to get around him. I'm going to wait for him to get out of the way. Long story short, I don't have a mask on. He does. He turns around. He's like, oh, why aren't you wearing a mask? And like, I didn't talk to him or anything. And then he just like said, you know, you should really be wearing a mask, my friend. And then I didn't say anything. And then he started calling me an asshole. And then I just kind of like smiled and walked away. That won't be the reaction I have this time. No, there's not going to be that smile and walk away. Be like, I'm just here to get my groceries and I'm leaving. That's not, nope. I gave people the benefit of the doubt before. I said they're afraid. I don't blame them. It's a very weird thing. I understand. I was like compassionate toward the people's fear. This time, not so much. Not going to happen. I will keep my mouth shut until somebody approaches me, but if they do, it's on. Like, it's on. I'm not going to tolerate it. Nope.
On like Donkey Kong.
On like ping pong.
Yeah.
Damn it. There was something I was going to ask you guys about, and now I forget. So what do you guys take it away?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention when I first came on was that clip that you showed from Maui or Hawaii. I just felt this incredible disgust that I want to get on the record, because just complying with the police, telling them that they can't go to safety really, really bothered me. And I agree wholeheartedly that we should not comply.
Hear, hear. You know, it's, and another thing, like, I'm glad that you brought that up, because this just kind of shows how, I guess I would actually want to handle this kind of more delicately, because the truth is I wasn't there. And the truth is I didn't see that with my own eyes. So I'm in the realm of belief here. And I'm not so rigidly skeptical to not understand that that sort of thing can happen and most likely did. So with that being said, I would say that this shows that even in this day and age, these order followers are still the same heartless, brainless psychopaths that they've always been. And this should remind us all that these are the same people nationwide that will, if told, they will enforce whatever it is they're told to enforce. And that should be something that concerns us very, very greatly. And I, for one, implore people to, again, use speech first. If you have the courage to go and talk to these people, go get their opinions on it. I would like to point everybody to the artoflibertyfoundation.org/thick red line project. Let me make sure that I got that correct, because that is Etienne de la Boissy squared, his project, his the Thick Red Line project.
Would you drop that in the YouTube chat? That would be great.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up right now. Make sure I got the link correct. And what this basically is hold on. I'm having trouble typing and speaking at the same time. What this is, what the heck? Oh wait, it's Art of Liberty, not the Art of Liberty. Sorry. So what this basically is that come on. Did I spell it correctly? Community outreach program. And it's not coming up at the moment, but but that's basically what it is. It's a community outreach program where, like, you go to your sheriff or whatever, and you basically, like, get them informed on how what they're doing, if they're enforcing these things, is incorrect, and that they shouldn't be doing it. And it's kind of like I wish I could pull it up so I could really talk about it. Art of Liberty Foundation. Art of Liberty Foundation. Doing it live, folks. Right? Doing it live. Here it is. artofliberty.org. I had it wrong. Thick Red Line Project. There it is. Projects. Thick Red Line Project. So let me bring this up. I'll share it live on the air. And this is Etienne de la Boissy squared. I really admire this guy. He's a good friend. So the Thick Red Line Project is an effort to restore respect for law enforcement by abolishing victimless crime. Victimless crimes are not really crimes and make the cops the criminals. A real crime, by definition, has a perpetrator and a victim. Murder, assault, rape, theft, and extortion are all obvious crimes because there is a victim. Politicians and bureaucrats frequently institute illogical, immoral, and counterproductive laws or politician scribbles that penalize peaceful, nonviolent people for quote-unquote crimes that have no victim. Drug possession, gambling, and making arrests for ignoring COVID-19 lockdown and social distancing orders are examples of victimless crimes where politicians attempt to get the police to use violence immorally and preemptively on overwhelmingly peaceful people, frequently to raise revenue or enforce their version of morality on a population. When the police use violence and coercion against peaceful people for victimless crimes, there is simply no way to sugarcoat this. It makes the cops the criminals who are engaged in kidnapping and extortion under the color of law. The Thick Red Line Project is an organization is organizing the police to say no to the organized crime government on lockdowns, mask mandates, and other victimless crimes. But James, I thought you are an anarchist. What do you mean you're talking to the cops? What do you mean you're advocating for this? Well, I for one have the I have the line of thinking that when a child gets kidnapped, or a woman's getting beat by her husband or her spouse or whatever, when there's violent things going down, we have the natural law right to go and defend others. And if there's a group of, I don't necessarily support the police, but I do, however, would 100% back a group of people that are willing to put themselves in harm's way to protect other people that can't protect themselves. Because we have the absolute natural law right to do so for other people. Come to the aid and defense of others if and when they aren't able to come to the aid and defend themselves. So when a kid gets kidnapped, or a woman's getting beat or raped, or something's going on like that, when one of these natural law rights is being transgressed upon, and we can defend ourselves or others, unfortunately, the police are paid for by taxation. It's involuntary. And who do you call? Angela, do you have something to say about that?
I have a question for you and Jerry and you, James. So according to natural law, the only way we're allowed to take another life is in defense of ourselves or in defense of an innocent. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What about you, Jerry?
And I mean, like, I'm not just saying that offhanded. Like, no, I mean that.
Oh,
like,
I do
absolutely.
Too. I do too. And I wanted to know what Jerry thought.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you come upon someone who is innocent and someone else is being brutal toward them. Now, there are things that you can admonish that person, beat that person, not kill them, even maim them where you didn't take their life, to say you're not allowed to do that. I agree with that as well. But I totally agree that if, I come up on some 280-pound black man raping a 14-year-old, I'm going to take his life if I have the means. So yeah, and if I sit in prison for the rest of my life, it's because of I find all life sacred, and that's just not. I've gotten so sacred that I throw spiders. I call them speeders, but they're spiders and other things that I don't like out the door. I won't kill them anymore. I will actually find a way to trap them and send them back outside. So, and I've got a male cat who brings me dead birds, because he thinks I'm a bad hunter. But it's actually a term of endearment in them. But I don't admonish him for that. But what I will do is say a prayer for the bird that died, and throw him wherever I can dispose of him. But it's never in the trash. I never put anything in the trash if I don't have to. I always either bury it or throw it back in nature. You might consider that in your daily life. Anyway, thank you for answering the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's wow, that answer came pretty easily, right? But I mean, there's been a lot of thought put into that before you ever even asked it. It's, I do a lot of thinking about these things, and it seems to kind of be, it almost seems to be correct to kind of expound upon why I answer like that. I mean, and also to kind of like also get into a little bit of the nuance of it. Now, I would have to know. that what I'm doing is correct. I can't just, that's where it becomes tricky. But if it's a clear violation going on, then yeah, you do what's necessary to stop the violence. That's the correct answer. So I mean, up to and including using deadly force to stop a violent action from going on. Now, there's pretty clear-cut instances of violent action where there's no question of what's going on. Even if the way the interaction between two other people started differently than how it looks like it's going in the present moment. Say the person that's being just absolute, like I mean, there's a point where even defensive use of force, it's like, guy, calm down. Like you made your point. And this is just my personal opinion, but like if it looks like somebody's like, I mean,
yeah, I think that
it was easy to answer, but now I'm thinking about it. I'm starting to think about it some more on the spot. I'm just like, well, maybe there's some detail in there where it's like, oh wow, perhaps you don't really know who started it, who's defending, and who's being the violator, and
that's where I think you have to back off and stop the violence first, and then hopefully get down to the cause. If it's unconclusive, you get to walk away. But you always know, and we've seen this even in our party days, which I know most of everybody listening has had, that when you come back, you're going to see that violence again. But it may be in another form, but you're going to see it. So we always have in the back of our mind when we walk away from something where we don't know who started it, that, hey, I'm just going to keep an eye on them because I want to make sure that no one dies, right? And that's where natural law comes in with the discernment, with the trivium, with the quadrivium, with having logical thinking, because you would never want to accuse somebody in error, right? Of course, we don't ever want to do that. But it happens all the fucking time, right? I mean, we see good people go to jail for life or even get the death penalty when they've been accused innocent. And it happens all the fucking time. According to the thick red line and any audit channel, regarding the court system or law enforcement. So all I know is that natural law takes, logical thinking, discernment, and it also takes objectivity. You cannot be biased in that, because if a crime was committed, whether it be against natural law or whatever is supposedly written down by man, you've got to follow, this realm. We're in a realm here. It's not like a kingdom realm. It's a realm of subjectivity against the objectiveness of spirit. Because when we're in our spirit, when we're centered and loving, this world doesn't exist, right? And we're in our mode, we're in our true nature. But this whole construct is built to be neutral around it so that people can build whatever they want. And I think that's why we're seeing the tyranny, because we've lost our ability to be objective, we've lost our critical thinking, and we've also lost our ability to question properly and understand the answer is never emotional. It's always based in the reality of our construct and based on spiritual principles. And I don't throw religion into that at all. I throw objective reasoning into that, because everybody in their heart knows that every religion on earth, their number one thing is to seek the highest form of love. However, they all take different paths to get there. But then on the flip side, when you compare them all, many of them don't seek love at all. So you're going to find all kinds of ways where you'll fall away from that, and you'll fall away from this. Maybe you don't want to meditate all your life. Well, you don't have to. the beauty of it is that it's within you. Whatever you find the way to become loving and objective, then you're going to unite with others that are in the same thought process or consciousness, rather. And I don't want to go into the new age, but it's true. And that's why I keep coming to James, because I feel that that's where he is. You know, he leads his life. He's all about family. He's all about freedom. And he's all about being objective and critical thinking about the world. And I find you amazing, James, and I so thank you for allowing me to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And, you know, like, it's where my own personal life has led me is to understand that we're all sharing this space together. There is an objective reality that we all share together. And our actions here, they do have an effect on other people, you know, and it doesn't necessarily always mean your next door neighbor. You know, there's consequences for every action. And you know what? Like, you're not always going to be the one to feel those consequences. So, I mean, yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to go around just, you know, so blind that like you don't understand that other people are going to be affected by you. How many people do you see on your daily ongoings that just like, they're just absolutely just wrapped up in their own bullshit? You know, we all find ourselves periodically being like, oh my God, like I got these things or these tasks I need to get done. Like the world's affecting me. Like, and you know, that's what I mean by other people's actions now are affecting you. Just as your actions can affect others, and you're facing the consequences for others' actions, just as others are facing the consequences of yours. So that's when you get wrapped up and you're like, oh my God, I'm not in control. And that's okay. You know, it's okay to embrace the chaos, because that's a very important component of how this place is built. But it's also like, you know what? Like, you got to be able to slow down, take a deep breath, and realize that your actions are the only ones that are going to get you out of that chaos and into something a little bit more stable for a time being until the chaos it's like entropy has a way of bubbling up. Yeah. You know, and it's a perfectly natural part of life. Is this entropy has a way of bubbling up every now and again. It's what you do when you're faced with that makes the difference. Do you cave? Do you give in? Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Or do you go, hey, you know, this, I hate to bring it to like kind of a biblical thing or like a religious thing, because I'm not a religionist at all. But I mean, sometimes you gotta understand that these stories were written as like kind of like a time capsule in itself of old ways that people figured out when they didn't have the science and the technology that we have today, ways to kind of understand how nature works and our place within it, and how our interaction with nature itself, the way that relationship kind of emulsifies, and the product of that emulsification. And what they came up with was this very simple saying that this too shall pass. And we're going to have to figure out a way to kind of cope in the meantime, so we don't get just completely just overcome with grief and emotion and give in to the chaos. Instead, we find a way to navigate through it, and we figure out a way to and it's going to make us stronger. See, like, I grew up watching this cartoon. Maybe other people my age also grew up watching it. It's called Dragon Ball Z. Okay. And it's an anime, and it's written by Akira Toriyama. And he came up with this idea of creating this like alien humanoid race that has a tail like a monkey and turns into a giant ape. It's all based off of the Great Journey West. That's an old Chinese or Japanese story about the great Monkey King Goku, who travels west or whatever. And like, anyways, Son Goku is the main character of Dragon Ball Z, but he's a part of this race called the Saiyans. And the Saiyans, what happens is every time they get into an extremely difficult battle where they almost lose their lives, when they heal, they're like 10 times stronger than they were before the battle. It has nothing to do with lifting weights or anything like that. It's just something about their physiology that when they're done with that battle, they're stronger. So what I'm drawing here is like this idea of like, we have to find strength within ourselves to get through the chaos and to get through it all in order to come out the other side even stronger, because it's a test. It's a test from nature itself, because this is the part of natural law of correspondence and cause and effect, how these things stack on top of each other. The principles of natural law, they compound and stack on top of each other. They all work together as one big puzzle piece. I'm sorry, not one big puzzle piece, but pieces of a puzzle. And when we have cause and effect and the way that it all affects one another, the thing I said before about my actions, you're feeling the consequences, and blah, 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 the give and take of the whole thing. This is what creates testing ground. The chaos that we all have to deal with. This is the testing ground. And the way that you deal with it, if you choose with your own free will to face the fear and to stare it down and say, not today. Okay? I'm going to let you have it for a second. It's like that litany of fear from Dune, right? And I'll pull it up right now because I have it. And
James, may I say, please also know that any fear that you have regarding anything coming up or any uncertainty you might have, fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And appearances are everything in this life. So when you're objective, you have the ability, with the critical thinking that comes with objectiveness, to pierce through the falsity of anything appearing real to you. And believe me, I am one of the most stubborn people on earth, and it's taken me some time to learn some truths about this life, but I think we all have been through that. So don't lose heart. Just remember that fear is false evidence appearing real. And if you can keep that in your mind and be objective about what you're looking at and say, does this really work in my life? Then just don't comply. I yield.
So the litany against fear from Dune goes as follows. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. So did she drop out? She just like, I'm out of here. Oh, she did? She waved goodbye? All right. Strange. But that's okay. People do what they want to do. But so with that about Dune, facing fear and just getting through it, it's not going to be something that is done without effort. And this could very well be the test that we're facing with like all this new stuff about COVID and all the things that they're like choosing to try to do to us, the supposedly unsuspecting masses of people out there. And we have an obligation to say no. We have an obligation to break the mind control programming that they've been trying to pull over us, and to say no. Lead by example. So another story that I like to tell, one of the only other interactions I had with anybody inside of a store while I was not wearing a mask and others still were, like in droves, still wearing masks, is this story, and it's inside the same grocery store as the guy who decided to flip out at me, and I just smiled and walked away. I had a different interaction with this other gentleman. He had his, looked like 4, maybe 5-year-old daughter sitting in the cart, and I was across the aisle, pretty wide aisle, and he's got a mask on, his daughter's got a mask on, And I just was like one of the only people in the store that didn't. And he looks over at me, gives me a thumbs up, and he goes, I wish I had the balls to not wear a mask. And I looked at his daughter and I looked at him and I said, you do, just take it off. And I did that. I was just like, just take it off. You don't have to wear it. And he goes, he did this whole like, well, you know, you got to do what you're told. Like, I'm not doing what everyone else is being told. Is anyone tackling me to the ground right now and spraying me with mace or tasing me? No. Just as easy as it was for me to walk into the store and not wear the fucking thing on my face, it's just as easy for everybody else. You know, and if you're sick, stay home with anything, right? Whatever. But it's just a matter of realizing that it's your, like, each individual's choice is what makes up the aggregate choice. And each of us has a responsibility to realize that our choice in what we do next with this coming fear campaign, our choice is going to have an impact on how well others are able to make choices for themselves. If you comply with this madness, you're doing nothing but making it harder for the people that realize that personal choice and personal bodily autonomy is the paramount right of any human being. In fact, you could even wrap the animal kingdom up in that as well, but they're not the ones having to wear masks because of COVID. And they're, you know, so this is what I'm saying. This is why I'm saying it. Like, because, you know, we have to understand that enough is enough and that we can't let it happen again. So we have to have some strength here. Pull through. Next on the show, unless Jerry, do you have some things that you would like to say?
Gotta have strength like Goku.
Go to Super Saiyan, dude. You know, so next on the show, I made a promise I would play this, and I'm going to. It's the video from Truth Stream Media, and this will probably be the last thing that I play tonight. I'm not going to go all night tonight. I just don't want to. So I mean, unless it just happens that way. But I don't think I plan on it. So I mean, we'll probably play this. Well, we're going to watch it in its entirety. It is a video that is 29 minutes long. So we're going to watch it in its entirety, because what's going to happen is on the other side of this video, the people that choose to listen or watch this video are going to have a better understanding on how cults are created. And you're going to have to ask yourself a very serious question of whether or not you are in a cult. And this doesn't have to do with just scientism, but maybe is the government a cult? Is complying with them being a part of a cult? Are you a cult of order followers? So this is the context in which I'd like people to watch this video, you know. So yeah, let's play it. The characteristics of cults from Truth Stream Media.
Hello, everybody. So,
Hello.
Here we are at the tail end of the dumpster fire that is 2020. And I don't know how you guys are doing out there. Hopefully well. Hopefully you're staying warm and rational. It's been a real dark night of the soul kind of time over here for us personally. A lot of things that we've tried to just push down with work, lots and lots of work, to kind of try to push certain things that have happened away, try to not deal with them. All those things are coming right back. So the lesson there is you can't do that. You could try to push things down and ignore things. It doesn't work though. Eventually, all that stuff is going to blow up in your face. What I'm going to say right now, I haven't really prepared. I've got a few things I want to read to you, but I haven't really prepared a whole thing here. And I've noticed that's the thing right now. If your label is so they can put you a requisite box in their head, they get really angry at you. I've noticed that lately. Sadly, some of the most hateful messages I've received lately are from supposed Christians. Extremely sad because I don't. It's like people are becoming monsters. It's like people are becoming shadow versions of themselves, and they don't even realize the behaviors they're engaged in, the level of extreme emotion that is coming out. All of this is stopping their ability to think critically about the things that they're calling for right now, the things they're saying. It's as if they have exited reality, even the normal reality for themselves, and they are now in some shadow land. So this was sent out a little bit ago by our good friend Gons over at Face Like the Sun. The same people warning about martial law coming to America in 2011 are now pushing for it in 2020. This is kind of the point that I'm making. Gons has always earned our respect because he has not wavered against his own principles, at least not in the time since we have known him, which has been for many years now. Unlike other people that we have known, who, if you went back to 2011 and pulled up supposedly stood for and the stuff that they were telling people, and you jump cut them to things they've been saying in recent years, you would be flabbergasted. Your mind would be blown at just the 180-degree complete switch over of all morals and values, just completely flipping. Just does not stand for any of the stuff they supposedly stood for in a way that is just utterly pathetic. And it kind of makes me sick because certain people who do things like that just so happen to be in positions of influence. And I mean, I have seen people who are saying things, they sound crazy. They just sound crazy now. They have been whipped up into an emotional frenzy. And it's like they've lost their minds. So I thought a self-help group, a religious movement, a political organization. That's right, let's say that one more time, a political organization. They change so gradually, by the time you realize you're entrapped, and almost everybody does, you can't figure a safe way back out. So people aren't joining cults. They think they're joining something else at first, something that they believe in. And it's not weak-willed, ignorant people who end up in cults either. Many people who are actually just looking for answers that they haven't been able to find in the realm of what would be considered normal society. It's part of the we're seeing right now with the idea that questions official narratives is treated like a crazy person and an idiot for asking, and the teacher would say something like, there are no stupid questions, right? Well, that has certainly changed in the last 10 years of social media, hasn't it? Now there's all kinds of questions that just really aren't even allowed to be asked apparently at all. I really don't know what these people expect when you do that, because what you're actually doing is you're pushing that segment of society towards more extreme. That's what you're actually doing by not allowing a space for people to question things. And that's where cult leaders like to hang out. They like to be right there outside the gate, catching all the people who get off the bus, right? I mean, it's literally how it was in the 70s, right? They used to hang out in Greyhound bus stations and recruit people. Now it's a little bit different in the digital era, but it's basically really it's the same. It's the people who start to step off of, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it was, or I have questions, or, you know, whatever. And then they start to look for answers outside the realm of mainstream media narratives and official government narratives. And there just so happens to be some cult leaders. They wait right outside that gate. They're just waiting right there to hook those people and suck them in. That's how it works. So society is actually forcing people out into the fringes where those cult leaders can then prey on them. It's a formula, actually, almost seemingly to push people towards these cults. So let's talk a little bit about the characteristics of cult leaders. And I'm going to be quoting a lot from Dr. Janja Lalich. She has a PhD in human and organizational systems from Fielding Graduate University. But she also spent 10 years, starting in the 70s, as part of a radical Marxist-Leninist group called the Democratic Workers' Party in California, which she later came to believe was itself a cult. She would have to store questions and doubts in the back of her mind because she was unable to express them at the time. And she became a high-ranking member in that group. She worked long hours. She had little contact with outside people. She also claims that ex-members were harassed and attacked and that she felt increasingly threatened. And when the group was eventually dissolved, she was finally able to leave it. And then after that, she began educating herself on cults. And now she's considered an expert on that. I found this article on Refinery 29 where they're talking about the 4 personality traits that cult leaders have in common. So first, cult leaders are typically described as charismatic, at least to some of the people who would become followers. And Dr. Lalich says that what appears to be special to one person might not really be all that alluring to others, but it comes down to this cult leader finding people who respond well to how they present themselves or the information they present.
So that's how it starts, is you just need one person or a few people to go, you know what, what you said is right. I totally believe that.
Yeah, you really are a genius. You really are getting messages from God, whatever it might be.
Whatever it might be. And then from there it grows.
From there it grows.
And then they bring people in. And then this sets up something that Dr. Lalich calls charisma by proxy, which refers to the leader's inner circle taking up that cause and spreading it to a wider range of people than the cult leader themselves would be able to appeal to effectively. And the thing about cult leaders and the charisma is these people figure out what people want to hear, and then they say that. Match up with their words. They're just telling you stuff that you want to hear. And then people want to believe it so badly because it's what they wanted to hear that they will then rationalize away all of the stuff that happens that makes it so that those things they want to believe aren't actually true. All the warning signs that that person's just all talk and is actually the opposite of the things they're trying to claim. People will just rationalize that away and make justification for all the negative things or the warning signs. Second, leaders are usually narcissists. So narcissistic personality disorder is defined as a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. It is super fun to be around this kind of person. And I am being completely sarcastic. It's a nightmare to be around a person with NPD. It is awful. You live in it's a revolving door clown circus of never knowing what the hell is going to happen next. It's scary. Those people are scary and they have no empathy. And that's the thing. And you never know. You just never know it's going to happen. You just don't.
These individuals who are usually sociopathic, they have an ability to know what people want to hear, right? So they create a message that's going to resonate at least with some people. And they're able to, they kind of know how to push your buttons. They're very intuitive in a way. But they're also very demanding. They're very erratic in their behavior. So what happens is, one day the leader might be in a really good mood and everything's hunky-dory, but then in a flash he could turn and things could get very mean. That keeps the members on their toes, right? You're like walking on eggshells. You never know which one is going to appear.
Relationship. You'll know this person pretty easily too, because they had to be the center of attention all the time. And so they will be continuously interrupting other people, being the loudest person in the room. It becomes pretty obvious when you start to think about that set of characteristics there. There are some people that definitely fit that definition to a T. Dr. Lalich says they demand extreme loyalty. So that's the biggest point, is that cult leaders don't allow criticism. And they seek to control everything that goes on with the narrative there. And because they're driven by their ego, ultimately, they believe they have a right to make those demands, she says. And they also tend to usually make things about themselves. And they're constantly having to say things like, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. It reminds me very much of whenever I was a kid and our car broke down off the side of the highway one time. My mom's truck was always breaking down, and this guy pulled over to give us a ride, which, it was the highway, so we actually really needed the ride. But he goes, come on, get in. You can trust me. And something about the way he said that, we were like, no, thanks. We'd rather walk. Because there was nothing about saying you could trust me that made him sound trustworthy. In fact, it sounded completely disingenuous the way he said it. Like, why, shouldn't that just be a given that we should be able to trust you? Why you got to say it like that? It was really creepy. And it's kind of like that. They'll constantly refer to themselves as a hero. I'm a hero. I'm the biggest hero in the room. I got a hero degree on the wall. My t-shirt says hero. There's a star on it. I mean, that kind of thing. If you have to constantly talk about what a good person you are, something's not right, okay? Because if you're a good person, people will just know that. They don't need you to tell them that all the time. They don't need you to say, I'm a hero, I'm a hero, I'm a hero. If that guy's a hero, people will know they're a hero. They won't need to say it all the time. And that leads to kind of the next point, which is that these people can't do anything wrong. You're not allowed to criticize them. These cult leader people. It doesn't matter how valid your points might be or your concerns, or like, hey, wait a minute, you said this, but your actions aren't really matching up with the things you said. No, that's not allowed. Criticism of any kind is not tolerated. These people will deflect the criticism, and then they'll argue on top of that anyone who does criticize them is actually persecuting them. In fact, anything they do wrong is never their fault ever, because they can't actually do anything wrong. As previously said, they're good people, right? So they can't ever do anything wrong, even though we obviously know everyone's fallible, and it's ridiculous for people who claim that they're just the greatest hero that ever lived and they never do anything wrong. But anyone who points out something they have done wrong is obviously just persecuting him. Case closed. And that's it. And it's meant to shut down critical thought. Critical thought is not encouraged by these people at all. No questions allowed, no critical thought. It's just not part of the process. So in this way, you enter into a worldview that is being run in a completely authoritarian way without any real accountability, because there can't be. There can't be any questions and there can't be any criticism. And third, these people are unpredictable. They have erratic behavior.
One of the things we talked about was the cult of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Cult of personality, he would say, is where you love the guy or girl and you fear them.
Yes, absolutely.
It's both.
And the purpose of that, coming in one day and being nice and coming in the next day and being a psycho, the purpose of doing that kind of thing is to enable that person to maintain a power imbalance, keep everyone walking on eggshells. It gives that person control over the situation. Dr. Lalich says, you don't know if he's going to come in as a raging bull or as a sweet seducer, adding that this tactic is a surefire way to keep everyone on edge with a desire to please the leader. And finally, once these people have established their movement and gotten a taste of power, most cult leaders develop a clear motivating force behind their actions, be it political status, be it money. And even if they claim to be working or speaking for a higher power, it's far more likely, if you just take a real look at what's going on, that what they're really doing is serving their own ego. Dr. Lalage says they don't have any shame. These people also have a propensity for angry retaliation and retribution to anyone they deem a threat or who would point out their fallibility. Anyone who would speak out against them or question them or criticize them at all, because those people are persecutors, so they get to be attacked, and angry revenge gets to be taken against them, and that's justified because they're the persecutors or whatever. So that's a cult leader right there. Those are some of the characteristics of a cult leader. The one that's most concerning, I feel like, is the one where you're not allowed to question anything. Characteristics of cult followers. Obviously, first, you have excessively zealous people who are unquestioning in their commitment to a leader who don't have the ability to criticize or to ask questions. And if and when the cult leader, does something insane or that goes against what they should supposedly be standing for, the followers will always find a way to rationalize and justify that behavior away. As mentioned earlier, the cult satisfies a follower's need for something, be it a sense of purpose or the answers that aren't being offered anywhere else or seemingly aren't being offered anywhere else. And it's a sense of community with people who have similar beliefs as well, because humans are social creatures. We don't want to be alone in our thought. It makes you feel crazy when you start to question things. You feel alone. So it's good to find a sense of community there. But the problem is that if you just get a feedback loop or an echo chamber of crazy going around, that's not really an answer. And then everyone's just justifying what should be completely unjustifiable things. But if members feel like their concerns aren't being met anywhere else, you could see how those people would easily be ensnared by a cult with a leader who is saying the things they want or need to hear. And cult members are typically fed on extreme emotions. It'll be things like greed, vanity, it can be love, but a lot of times it's guilt and fear, and especially fear, to maintain the following, because fear is especially powerful.
What cults use are basic social psychology, right? All of the things we respond to all the time. Guilt, shame, fear, love, anger, right? All of those mechanisms, emotional pulls that we've responded to our whole lives. Very rarely will a cult have to give you drugs or do something like that.
Right.
They don't need to do that because basic social psychology works. It's all about coercive influence, right?
And it creates a distortion of reality that is necessary to keep people hooked in and buying into these narratives and going along with these things. Is just to hit the fear button all day, every day for hours a day, just beep, 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 beep on that person. Because arousing intense emotions is a way cults inculcate their dogma. Whatever their dogma is, whatever the things are that the people in the cults are expected to believe in without question or criticism. And once people are taken down to that base emotional response level, all the critical thought stops right there. Because they are just responding emotionally, so they don't have the ability anymore for critical thinking about some of the things that they're saying. And some of the things I've heard here recently are they just sound insane. It just sounds crazy. But they can't see that because they've been fed in, their mind has been fed into this fear box and they're just living in there. And so they're just justifying all kinds of things that 10 years ago, the same person probably never would have said or believed in or justified or rationalized away. Now they're actually calling for things. It's crazy. It's so crazy. And so what you've got is a situation where these people are put into this echo chamber. They're just hearing the same stuff over and over and over. It's pushing that constant fear button. Your brain, as I've said in previous videos, your brain puts out hormones when you're in a constant state of fear and anxiety, even if it's low level fear and anxiety, that your body becomes addicted to. You could actually become addicted to fear. And people don't even realize that. That's the problem with a lot of this, is people don't realize a lot of these things until it's already happening to them. The people become dependent on this person's analysis And they are seemingly unable to think independently from that or to analyze situations without that person's input or what that person is saying. And they become hyper pro that agenda and spreading the message of that without really thinking about probably half of what they're even actually saying. And these people also become increasingly isolated from their family and friends because the family and friends aren't demonstrating an interest in that agenda. So then it's like, well, you guys just don't get it. So the person becomes increasingly more isolated into the world of this cult, essentially, and the cult leader's view on everything. And everyone else who says anything negative, of course, back to the persecution thing. So those people are just out, basically. And again, anything that cult leader does is justified, no matter how ridiculous it is, no matter how antithetical to the person's own belief systems it is, no matter how harmful it is, no matter how obviously corrupt it is, it's always going to be justified away somehow and explained away and rationalized. As the screw gets turned a little more and a little more, they become just indoctrinated into this single black and white view of reality, and they refuse to even entertain anything that doesn't agree with that constructed worldview, even if the things that you're trying to say to these people have merit and make sense. They will immediately just flick that away because it's bouncing off of this wall that's been created around their brain, around their mind of reality, because they want to believe so badly in the message of the dear leader. So it's a total closed-mindedness that sets in here. It allows these people to rationalize away their own doubts and concerns, anything that might eat away at that worldview. The hardest part in doing all this research is realizing how these things have affected us personally here in the past. I coming to this point of doing this research, this is, I've done so much research on the mind and the brain and things, and now to get to this point in my life and be able to see this now for what it is, I am so, I don't know, you guys, I've been I've been crying a lot lately, just coming to terms with the fact that this kind of situation worked its way into my life years ago. And I don't know what to tell you, because I was book smart. I thought I knew things, but I did not have any idea the psychological black basket to hell that I was about to get into with this type of situation here. And now that it's been many, many years, I can stand back and look at it all and take it in. And it's unbelievable how this works. How people, normal, average people, can be fed into a totally extremist worldview that should actually go against the things that even they have personally stood for in the past. And I have seen so much hate lately, so much hate. I mean, like I said, it's as if people are being turned into shadow demons of themselves or something on the Facebook and the Twitter and the Instagram with the comments that people are making at each other. If one person doesn't totally buy into or has questions about the other person's beliefs. If what you believe is true, then you shouldn't get angry if anyone has questions about it. That shouldn't upset you to have someone question you. Because if what you believe is just true, and type that stuff to someone, somehow that you behaved that way. I don't know. My mama raised me better than that. I can't believe it. I don't think politically, spiritually, I don't think that's an excuse like they're subhuman. I think that's awful. And it's a terrible way to treat people. The closed-mindedness and some of the stuff that's just in full-on display in the 20 is just, it's really sick. And it makes me really feel bad for people because division and hyper-partisanism, it's not going to help any of us in the future. It's not going to help the way that people are treating each other. And when we need understanding and open-mindedness more than ever, I am seeing more hatred and closed-mindedness than ever. I don't know what people are becoming out there, but I think everyone needs to take a good hard look at themselves and think about some of this, because I have seen more cult-like behavior out of people than maybe ever in my lifetime. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, because I'm trigger words is going to trigger these people. I've got family members, by the way, who are right now. Like, scary to watch a person change like that and start supporting not that long ago. I mean, you're being led so far off the path. You were being led far down a really dark road. And I just hope that people can think about some of this stuff, because the way that some of these people are acting, they're acting like they've been sucked into a cult, and there are people that are acting like total full-on cult leaders, and there's just no really other way to describe it. And to try and downplay that is actually to do an injustice. Anyway, stay safe out there, stay sane. I'll talk to you guys later.
The best thing is...
Whoops. I cut it off there a little early, but gives you guys an opportunity to go and check that video out for yourselves. The link's in the show notes. We're going to draw it to a close here. It's been a really good show this evening. Thank you all for being in the chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you for showing your support. It really helps. So thank you to Jerry and Angela for showing up, calling in, being a part of the discussion. Really appreciate you guys and your input. If you would like and subscribe, then that helps beat the algorithms. It helps kind of combat the censorship a little bit. So, do that or not, whatever. I'm going to continue. So I'm gonna hop off the stream here, and we're gonna call it a night. So with that being said, here at A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth, we try to have a good. No. You guys are good in the chat. Don't worry about it. You interrupt in the chat all you want. You have every right to chat away over there, but Here at A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth, we really try to fight for what's right. We really try to do the right thing, not because maybe anyone's looking, but just because it's the right thing to do. And, I gotta say, the name of this show is A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. And as it's been said in the past, there's only two mistakes that you can make on the path to truth: is not starting and not going all the way. But that's the funny thing about hitchhikers, is that you don't always bring them all the way. Sometimes you only bring them a little further down the road. And that's what we aim to do here at A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. It's just to bring you a little further down the path to truth, get you a little further down there, because we're all making this journey at our own pace. And I implore you to do the right thing no matter what, and not because you expect to get some sort of reward out of it. don't do it just because somebody might be looking. You do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. I love you all. And with that being said, we're going to have Joe Murray play us out. And I'll catch you guys next week. Same time, same place. And in the meantime, well, I think next week is when I'll roll it out. But I have a gilded server ready to go, and I'm just wondering how I should roll that out. But that's for me to think about. So in the meantime, you guys, just be safe out there and stay vigilant. Peace.
Because there's a handful of people actually run everything. That's true. It's provable. Not conspiracy.
It's all about control. To them we just cattle, numbers, battling each other while they creeping in the shadows, scheming, plotting, clocking your every move, locked in your mind, brainwashed until it's rocking. Got the population operating as they want them, symbolically mocking them, thinking nothing can stop them. So open your eyes to the lies of the evil, the poison in the minds and the lives of your people. And every time they lead you down a line to deceive you, and by then it's always too late to see through the veil that they hide behind, cause your third eye is blind. Better take a stand, we running out of time. Ain't nobody coming to save us, fuck what you had in mind. Arm yourself with the truth and jump behind the battle line. Can we turn it around? Yeah, it's possible. Divided we'll all fall, but united we're unstoppable. This is for the world, this is for the masses, attached to the strings being pulled by puppet masters. This is for the youth, searching for the proof, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some truth. This is for the ones waking up from the spell, beginning to discover themselves. Yeah, this is for the youth, searching for the truth, keep on looking for the clues, I'll provide you with some proof. This is for the world.